Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
But you say he's just a friend.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC. Oi!
I'm sorry, Sid. Hi.
Oh, God, don't be sorry. You kidding me?
No, I'm wrapped up in these meetings on peace. And I said, it's between peace and Sid Rosenberg. And I said, let's take Rosenberg, okay? So.
First round of contract talks since the start of the Long Island Railroad strike.
What do we want? Contract! When do we want it?
Now! But still, no deal.
We all know that the railroad is the lifeblood of Long Island.
The stage set for a hellish Monday morning commute and possibly days more of chaos.
Our ask is not unreasonable.
We need ideas about how to bridge the gap.
Commuters caught in the middle, forced to find another way in and out of the city.
The Long Island Railroad, to see this going on, it's heartbreaking.
That'll definitely be a nightmare for commuters.
Tonight, the blame game.
This strike would not have been possible if the Trump administration had not taken the highly unusual step last fall of releasing labor unions for mediation.
300,000 plus people completely inconvenienced because of the incompetency of Kathy Hochul.
No. Kathy Hochul, no, you are to blame. You cannot put this on Donald Trump or anybody else. President Trump has only lifted and made the United States great again, while you and your failed policies are destroying New York State. The LIRR strike is on you. You are destroying our economy. You're destroying thousands of jobs, and you are making it difficult for people to stay, work, and live in this great state of New York. It is you who are responsible, and you must take the responsibility for your failed actions and your failed governorship. You are to blame, and you cannot put this on our great president. We need Bruce Blakeman in office now. We need change in New York State to make New York State great again. Kathy Hochul, you are destroying our state. You and you alone are responsible for this.
We love our workers here in Nassau County, and we treat them right. And that's what Kathy Hochul should be doing. So again, no congestion pricing during the strike. Get to the bargaining table, Kathy Hochul, and get this strike over.
President Trump minutes ago with another warning to Iran, writing in a post, quote, "For Iran, the clock is ticking and they'd better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence." Earlier today, the president spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone. Iran at the center of that call. Reports say the U.S. and Israel are preparing for possible strikes as a peace deal prospect stalls.
Getting back to Iran for a second, look, I don't know if they're ever really going to stop enriching the uranium. You go back to those two dopes, Obama and Kerry. Sorry, two dopes. They signed that deal. They thought they did a great job. It took Iran
what a horrible deal.
Yeah, one day it took them to actually go back on that deal. But do you really feel, forget about the Strait of Hormuz for 1 second, forget about regime change. Do you really feel in your heart of hearts that you can stop Iran from enriching uranium and never build a bomb? Never.
100%.
Okay.
They're going to stop. And they told me, the Iranians told me, and I deal with them, and they said that we're going to get the dust. I call it the nuclear dust because it's appropriate. It's easier for people to understand. And we're going to get it. The problem is there's only two countries in the world that can get it, us and China, because nobody has the equipment. Because when we bombed it, it was a total, that I was right, it was a total obliteration. The entire mountain collapsed on top of it. And they said, the Iranians told me, they said, nope, it'll be yours. But then they changed their mind. But they did say, because, you know, they demeaned the B-2 bombers. Those guys, every shot hit. Then we sent in Tomahawks from a submarine. They all hit. But every shot hit. And they demeaned the B-2 bombers when CNN starts saying, you know, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. Iran told me that it was so devastating that no country in the world other than us, and they said China, would be able to, has the machinery to be able to get that.
So here's what the mayor of New York did today. He posted a tribute to Nakba Day, a day of mourning for the creation of Israel. That's right. And this is what his words have inflamed. Now let me explain what Nakba Day actually means. In 1947, the United Nations voted to split the land into two states, one for Jews, one for Arabs. The Jews said yes. The Arabs said no. The day Israel was born, 5 Arab armies invaded to destroy it: Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon. They told the local Arabs to get out of the way. We'll push the Jews into the sea, they said. You can come back when we win. But they lost. The Jews survived. The Arabs who left could not come back. Blame the 5 Arab armies who thought they would win. And that is where the 700,000 refugees came from. They were not expelled by Israel. They were displaced by a war their own leaders started and lost. The word Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic. It was coined in 1948 by an Arab scholar named Constantine Zurich. He did not use it to describe Israel. He used it to describe the shameful failure of Arab armies to wipe out the Jewish state. That is the original meaning from an Arab in Arabic in 1948. The catastrophe was that the Arabs tried to commit genocide against the Jews and failed. In the 1990s, activists rebranded it. They turned Zurich's word for Arab failure into a word for Jewish guilt. And they made the aggressor into the victim and the victim into the aggressor. The catastrophe being mourned is not displacement. It's the existence of the Jewish state itself. So understand what the mayor of New York actually did today. He mourned the survival of Israel and did it in his official capacity as mayor. He mourned the fact that the Jews were not destroyed in 1948, and he lit a match in his own city. This is who runs New York City now. There is no ceiling to his hatred of the Jews. He'll keep climbing, and every Jew in this city will pay for it.
Their young people, their key constituency, not only don't like their own civilization, they like the wrong one. They actually think Hamas is a liberation movement. They chant for the Houthis. They're chanting, "We will honor our martyrs" at Yale. They're looking for love in all the wrong countries. Someone needs to tell the kids that America is not the society where women basically have no rights, where there's zero freedom of religion and where dissent is punishable by death. But we still have elections. They don't. And yet at Coachella this year, when an Irish rap group projected onto screens, Israel, free Palestine, got big applause. Globalize the intifada is the catchphrase that's really catching on these days, as if worldwide suicide bombing and cosplaying Islamic revolutionaries is the answer to our problems. At an AOC Bernie Sanders rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, this is not a symbol of freedom. This is.
I wear it proudly, wherever I am. I want the world to know I'm Jewish.
At the end of the day, the Jewish people are much bigger than any one of us. I will fight for the Jewish people until God calls me home.
We weren't a very, very religious household, but I was still a very, very proud Jew. I'd fight you in the street, and still will, if you said anything negative about the Jewish people. I've never been more proud to be a Jew. Never.
October 7th changed me. I woke up October the 8th, and I cried for about an hour, and I said, from now on, I will be a different Jew than I've been my whole life.
I'm not scared of New York City. I'm not scared of France. I'm not scared anywhere.
Cavaliers will dribble out the clock. And this topsy-turvy series belongs to Cleveland. A blowout Game 7 win in Detroit to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. They get there for the first time since 2018. Next up, the New York Knicks.
The mayor, once again, showing how much he hates the Jews. Man, he hates us. That Nakba Day, you heard Samantha Edis talk about it in the open. What a disgrace. I mean, what an absolute disgrace. Somebody needs to give this moron, this radical jihad mayor, a history lesson. And don't get mad at me when I call him names, folks. Seriously, F you. F you. You know, I kowtow to you folks, and I apologize, and I felt bad. He is the lowest piece of garbage we've ever had in any political capacity in the history of our country. If you don't like it, change the channel. Move on. I don't care. I really don't care. This guy finds a way to rewrite history every day. What happened Nakba Day was that after a 1947 United Nations resolution where they decided that we were going to split up the land between Israel and the Arabs decided from 5 different countries that's not good enough, so we're going to kill all the Israelis and take over. So they started the war in 1948, and what did we do? We finished it, just like we always do. Doesn't matter. 1 nation, 5 nations, 10 nations, terrorists, Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah. In the end, you're going to lose. We didn't start the war in 1948. It was 5-on-1, and we still kicked your ass. And you got a set of balls, Mayor Mamdani, to rewrite that history and make it seem like the Arabs or Palestinians were the sympathetic victims here. And this lady that you talked about, no one even knows if she even exists. You remember after 9/11, he had that bullcrap story about his aunt that was on the train who nearly got beat up because she was Muslim. And then it turned out that was a complete lie. Maybe this lady, Ileana, is a complete lie, too. I don't know, and I don't care. All I know is he has rewritten history. He did it on Shabbos just to really stick it up the Jew's ass, and he's a liar. He's a filthy, disgusting, Jew-hating liar. That's Mamdani. Anybody who has anything nice to say about that man, please do me a favor. I'm begging you. Don't ever talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't tell me you like the show. I don't care. Don't listen. I don't care. Nakba Day in New York City. He's the mayor of New York City. Only in Israel are there more Jewish people than in New York City. And this lowlife, that's what he is. He's a lowlife. Comes out with this lie, this Nakba nonsense. So Andrusik, who's the lead singer for Five for Fighting, saw my tweet. He's a great American. He loves President Trump. He loves Israel. And he responded in kind with a thank you, whatever the hell he wrote, I don't know. And then he came back and said, Sid, take a listen to this. And it was his song, Superman, a great song by Five for Fighting, in that duet with Alone. So Louis, the great Lou Ruffino, played it this morning, and it was great. I know, Lou, you enjoyed. I know you love that song. You love that band like I do anyway, but with Alone on the piano and John singing, how great was that?
It was very moving.
It really was, right?
It was really moving. John already, he has an amazing voice and very talented. And it was crazy. When you look at it, when you hear it, it's, it was crazy to watch. And the guy's obviously a talented piano player, too.
Oh, he's terrific. He's terrific. So thank you to John Andrusik, who will be joining us, I believe, this week. That's right, the lead singer of Five for Fighting. He's been on Fox News a couple of times. Trump loves him. He'll be on this show coming up this week, and there's a bunch of songs from that band that I love. We can play a bunch today if you want. The Riddle, I love that song. 100 Years, I love that song. World, what kind of world do you want? We play all these songs on this show. So thank you to John Andrusik and Five for Fighting. We're also going to replay that Samantha Edis video at some point because New Yorkers need an education. Not the smart ones. They know what happened in 1948. Shove Nakba up your ass, Mr. Mayor. Liar. But we'll replay it for the folks who may not know, for the folks who actually want to learn, for folks who may even be, I don't know, bordering on anti-Semitic. Maybe you'll find out why you look worse and worse every day. Like Tucker Carlson. This guy, Tucker Carlson, is such a liar, and he was exposed. This was such great video. He came out, he's against the Iran war, and it looks like the Iran war may be restarting again. President Trump with a very, very serious message to Iran. The clock is ticking. Most people think by Wednesday or Thursday, the United States and Israel will resume the attacks on Iran, which doesn't bode well for my daughter Ava heading to Israel in about a week and a half. And for me, heading to Israel on June 18th, we'll see where that stands, but it's not about us. Looks like Wednesday or Thursday, this thing may resume. And Tucker Carlson is so angry about the Iran war. No one knows why, but he's so angry. So angry that at one point he actually referred to President Trump as the Antichrist. He referred to President Trump as the Antichrist. But then, when he was pressed by a young lady reporter, I'm not sure if you saw this, Noam, he denied it. He said, I never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. I don't even know what an Antichrist is. So when I tell you folks out there about Tucker Carlson, what a lying, thieving piece of anti-Semitic garbage he is, just listen, okay? Just listen. Scott Jennings, my dear friend at CNN, really exposed him. Have you seen this video, Noam?
I have not, but I listened to the interview he did with that NPR reporter who caught him a number of times where she was the one who, said that you made these statements and he denied, and then she would play them.
That's right. That's exactly what I'm going to play now. The NPR reporter, very good, Noam. Scott Jennings from CNN narrates this, and he points it all out. So if you're a Tucker Carlson fan, shame on you. He has been proven, I should say, to be a liar, just like all the anti-Semites out there. This is cut number 7. Tucker Carlson, Lewis, exposed.
Tucker Carlson has turned against President Trump in the most personal way that you possibly can. He is mad at Trump over the war in Iran, he says. And on his show, if you've heard it, he has at times argued or at least questioned whether Donald Trump is the Antichrist. He has also said in this interview that he believes Donald Trump is a slave or a hostage to Netanyahu or Israel or the Jews or what have you. It seems to me it has to be one or the other. Are you a supernatural evil being, or are you some weak hostage or slave to other people? I don't think you could be both. I want you to listen to this exchange with Lulu. Here's the question. She calls Tucker out about this idea of wondering aloud about Trump being the Antichrist. Hear Tucker deny it. Cut number 8.
You've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Oh, no?
Okay, you heard Tucker deny it when presented with direct evidence by Lulu Garcia. He denied it in the room. And if you watch the video, by the way, he looks her dead in the eye and denies it. Well, let's see what happens next. Here is evidence that Lulu brought up and read to Tucker in its actual audio and video form. Cut number 9.
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
Oh!
Well, who knows? I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it.
I shut up. So there it is, Tucker Carlson. Lulu Garcia works for the New York Times, not the NPR. But at any rate, Noam, you heard that before. You were right. Dead. Caught him dead right there. Said it flat out. I wonder if he's the Antichrist. And he denied it, and he denied it. I'm trying to tell you, folks, for some of you folks out there that still like him, I don't know why, he is a thieving liar. He's an anti-Semite thieving liar. Something happened to this guy, and it is over now. It's gone. Mike Huckabee said it this weekend. Mike Huckabee said, I actually feel badly for Tucker. That's how irrational and crazy he's become. I never said that word. Well, there it is right there. President Trump, the Antichrist. So I guess we caught him, right, Noam?
Well, there was a number of times where she called him during that interview, and then he would backtrack and he said, well, I guess I said it.
I guess I did.
Yeah.
Right, he doesn't care. There's no repercussion.
No.
Because he doesn't lose any audience.
He doesn't. He probably gains audience.
He does.
Yeah.
Him and Megyn Kelly and all these people, they're doing great because it is chic and fantastic to hate the Jews. Even though you come off as a hateful anti-Semite, that's the way it's supposed to be now. So he can flat out get caught, say, okay, maybe I did say it, and nothing's going to happen. Him, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, that lowlife, they're all doing great. So, Frank, thank you, Frank,
for pointing out, Morano, that was a New York Times reporter. But, of course, the biggest story in the city today is not Tucker Carlson. It's not John Andrzejczyk and what's going on with Iran. The biggest story today is this Long Island Railroad strike. We're in day 3. And I have an exclusive interview with Bruce Blakeman coming up. I did it very early this morning. He's going to come up here in a couple of minutes, the Nassau County executive running against Kathy Hochul for governor. I'm sure he'll be everywhere today. Rosanna Scotto, every network, maybe even Fox News. He'll be everywhere. But who was the first to get Bruce Blakeman? Me. So today, day 3, and day 3 is the most important day. Why? Because today is the first day that people actually have to get to work. So yesterday I spent the day at the UBS Arena, the home of Lou Rufino's New York Islanders. Never been there before. Nice place.
It is nice, yes.
Very nice. John Ledecky's a sweet man. We spoke a lot about John Ledecky, me and Bill O'Reilly, Friday night as we sat in the owner's box, Steve Cohen's suite at the Met-Yankee game. I'll get to that. That was a great time, and Steve Cohen was very, very nice, very hospitable. I actually had a chance to shake hands with Mr. and Mrs. Met, so I think that war may be over. We'll talk about that later, but getting back to the UBS Arena, so I had the honor, thanks to Gabriel Boxer and the Israel Elite Hockey League, yes, the IEHL, there are 8 teams that play competitive hockey against each other in Israel. The league starts up in June, and now for 2 straight years, Tel Aviv plays Jerusalem on Long Island here in New York as an exhibition game before they start the regular season in Israel. And they sell a lot of tickets. People get very, very excited about it. Well, when I got to the stadium yesterday, it was a nice amount of people. Very nice. 82 degrees Sunday afternoon. Because don't forget, this game was supposed to take place a couple of months ago on that Sunday when we got that massive snowstorm. So they had to postpone the game to this weekend. And the weather didn't help, and the strike didn't help. I was told at least 2,000 of the fans who wanted to go to yesterday's game couldn't make it to the UBS Arena because of the Long Island Railroad strike. And I saw Bruce Blakeman there yesterday and Mazi Phillip and a host of other great people. We'll get to all of them, Johnny Daniels, and so my friend Elodie Weil, she's terrific, and Allison Devlin, and a whole bunch of very, very nice people. So they couldn't make it in yesterday. But today, of course, is the first work day. And the number that I hear that travel to work every day from the island is 300,000 people. Is that right, Noam?
Yeah, it's somewhere between 250, 300,000, yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It is. Well, LIRR is the largest commuter rail line in the nation.
The largest one?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you got about 300,000 people who need to find their way into work this morning in a city that is already maligned with terrible traffic and a ridiculous congestion pricing. I remember when it first started, and Hochul was boasting how great it's working. Even you know him. You're like, oh, it's so much easier to travel in the city. No, it has been proven not to work. It's a mess. Congestion pricing is a disaster. But you would think, now that Kathy Hochul has not stopped this strike, that at the very least, now because people have to drive into the city, that she would pause. She's got the power to do it. She can do it. She would pause congestion pricing. But she's not going to do it because she's the wicked witch of the East. She is an evil, wretched, disgusting governor and human being, this Kathy Hochul. So she's going to make people drive into the city while blaming Trump. You have nothing to do with this. While blaming Trump and charge them an extra $9 if they can even find a parking spot. In all these garages, they're all going to be packed. So right now, today, Nassau County, Suffolk County, these poor people, they're freaking out for no reason. I was also told, Noam, maybe you can confirm this, that they're not that far apart, the two sides, that it didn't have to come to this. But she's all too happy, Kathy, letting the New Yorkers suffer because it's something else. She finds a way to blame President Trump for when the truth is he has nothing to do with this. You understand that, Noam, right?
Yeah, well, the two sides were forced into mediation again yesterday, and apparently the talks went past midnight last night, and both sides said that progress was made. And the stumbling blocks is salary in the 4th year of this deal, and then contributions to health plans. So it doesn't seem like there should be a lot of mileage to make up, but apparently there has been. And so here we are, day 3 of the strike, the first day, weekday, and we don't know what it means. In fact, in Queens, You have Donovan Richards, the Queen's president. He's worried about just the whole borough being overwhelmed with people who don't want to pay for congestion pricing, parking there, then going to the Jamaica station, which is one of the biggest subway stops in the system, and overwhelming that. So he doesn't know what to expect.
Well, that's the same station as the airport, right?
The Jamaica station?
I thought so. Or maybe they have no, what am I saying? Sorry. No, it's not. Yes, Donovan is my borough president. I do live in Queens. I understand why he's nervous. Yeah, this is a mess. And there's no reason for it. Here is Bruce Blakeman, who, again, is going to join me in about 10 minutes. Exclusive conversation with the Nassau County Executive, and if God is good to us, the next governor here in New York, Bruce Blakeman. This was Bruce on the LIRR strike yesterday. This is cut number 3, Lewis.
We love our workers here in Nassau County, and we treat them right. And that's what Kathy Hochul should be doing. So again, no congestion pricing during the strike. Get to the bargaining table, Kathy Hochul, and get this strike over.
There you have it. Anything else we need to know about this specifically with the strike?
I mean, it's just a nightmare because they can't accommodate any of these people, right? They're talking about buses from 4 or 5 stations to the Jamaica station or to subways that'll take you the rest of the way into the city. But you're talking like 10, 15,000 people they'll be able to accommodate. So essential workers will get those seats and everybody else is kind of screwed. And hopefully you can work from home. I mean, look, the advantage over this strike over the last one, which was 1994, is we went through COVID, so people know how to work from home. So that's a bigger deal. So you'll have fewer people trying to get into the city than they did, almost 30 years ago when you had the last strike. But still, there's a lot of people who have to be sitting in their office. So it's a huge deal.
All right, we'll get to Bruce Blakeman again about this Long Island Railroad strike. A lot of you folks on Long Island listen to me. I've got unbelievable ratings out there, we do the ratings and the weeklies come in, and again, I destroyed the competition on Friday. We do, they cover all 4 hours of my show. I don't know if you know that, but our station, the FM station out on the island, they cover all 4 hours of our show. And we get a pretty big number out there. And really, what we should be doing, if we're going to be fair about this, when we talk about ratings, and I've told this to John and Chad, we should be adding that station to my numbers here in New York City. And when you do that, sometimes I win by 4 points. You don't just exclude it because it's Long Island. We're number 1 out there. They're New Yorkers, last I checked, right? Huge New Yorkers. The whole summer, people are in the Hamptons listening to me. Me, not Curtis, not anybody else. Me. So we destroyed him again on Friday, and we do really well out on Long Island. Thank you, guys. And my heart goes out to you. That's why I'm bringing on Bruce Blakeman in the next few minutes to try to give you guys some hope that this will not go for, well, as long as the Iran war. How about that? What else is out there this morning, Noam? What else you got?
By the way, the time spent listening on WLIR, which is one of the ways they gauge how people are listening to us, on WLIR, which is our Long Island outlet, is just outrageous. We're number 1 when it comes to time spent listening. I mean, the second place person station, which I don't remember what it is not even close. We're
close.
So far ahead.
Well, it's the same thing with the ratings. The second place person at our own station, and we beat the competition, not even close.
Yeah.
A full point behind in the rating point, as much as 100,000 behind in Cume. And this is not to put myself above anybody here or across the street, but the truth is, no one's close. Here, there, anywhere. We own it. We're killing everybody. I believe we're about a 3.75 time spent listening the last weekly here in New York. Across the street, they barely get a 3. So any number that you care about in this business, and I know this business better than anybody, better than a lot of executives, trust me. I've been doing this for 27 years, okay? It's not close. It's never going to be close. It's not. Do something else. Run for mayor again. I don't know. Start up a new chapter of the Angels. Do something else, because you're not going to get close. You're getting murdered in this little game of yours. What else is going on in the city, buddy?
Well, you mentioned this, but President Trump taking to Truth Social yesterday, warning Iran again. Sharply worded post saying that the clock is ticking for Iran. He added that they better get moving faster. There won't be anything left of them. He concluded by saying that time is of the essence. And as you suggested, this war could start up in just a couple of days if Iran isn't quick to respond.
Yeah, looking at possibly Wednesday or Thursday. And look, we're going to be fine. I do worry about Israel. Talked about that a couple times already this morning because the Iranians can't hit Staten Island. They can't hit Cincinnati, So what do? They start sending missiles over to Tel Aviv, and my daughter is set to go there next week, and I'm not going to stop her. I'm just not that type of parent, and I actually feel like Israel does a very good job of keeping people safe. But every now and then, as we saw the last couple of months, one of those missiles, they do hit and people do die. So they are bracing themselves, I'm sure, Israel, for what could be an ugly round, because that's who Iran goes after. They do hit other Arab countries now, which makes no sense, and they're starting to hit the Chinese. I mean, how crazy are these people? President Trump is right. They've got one ally right now, despite what President Xi told President Trump in China a couple of days ago. You realize that President Xi, we'll talk to Gordon Chang coming up this morning, he's playing both sides. Come on, you got to be smart here, folks. He tells Trump what he wants to hear, but he's still helping the Iranians, sending them weapons through the Caspian Sea and money. He is on the wrong side of this war, and the Iranians are hitting Chinese ships. These people are absolutely nuts. They've already ruined their relationship with a bunch of Arab nations. You know that. They started bombing everybody after that first weekend, and now the Chinese? What in God's name, Noam, are the Iranians thinking?
Well, they're dragging this thing out as long as they can, and so far they've been, rather successful at that.
They have been able to do that, yes. What else is going on?
It is a big day in the Luigi Mangione trial. So, of course, he is the alleged murderer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The judge in his trial was set to rule today on a motion from the defense team seeking to suppress key evidence that was collected when he was arrested at McDonald's in Pennsylvania. So this is big because at issue are the items that were found in his backpack, which included the murder weapon and a journal that detailed all of this. So Mangione's defense says they were unlawfully seized.
Listen, that all
without
may be
a
true.
warrant.
Right, that's fine. That may be true.
But if they throw this out, that's huge.
How's it huge? He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. He's never getting out. So when you say it's huge, and I've heard lawyers say that too, and I always follow up with them like I'm doing with you. Okay, Artie. Okay, Joseph. Does that mean that he's not going to spend the rest of his life in jail? No. There's no chance of that. He's going to. So how is it huge?
Well, if you
how does
throw
it help
out
him?
key evidence, it makes it a little bit more difficult for prosecutors
No.
to prosecute their case.
He was planning the whole thing. It
No,
shows
he's
premeditated.
yeah, but he's saying that they couldn't. They did not have the authority to take all that stuff. So, and he's probably going to be right. What I'm saying to you is, even if he is right and he wins these round of meetings or whatever you want to call it, which he probably will, it doesn't matter. It's not like he's only going to do 30 years now instead of 60. He's never getting out.
We don't know that. If you throw out all that evidence, it makes it much more difficult for a jury
I'll bring an
to find
attorney
him
on
guilty.
then, because every attorney I speak to says it's not going to matter. I mean, it's kind of like a, I don't know, when you lose a basketball game but you come close, so you take solace in a loss. That's all this is.
Moral victory?
Moral victory, thank you. That's exactly, thank you, Lewis.
Oh, sure.
This is a moral victory. It's not going to change his sentencing. He's not going to do less time in jail. That's what the attorneys tell me. I could be wrong, but we'll bring about 5 of them on this week to find out, because it is a big story in New York. I don't know why. Every time Luigi ends up in court, we go on and on about it. I don't care. Whether we cover it or not, I don't care. And I don't think he's ever getting out, no matter what happens this week. But at any rate, you're saying that it's a big week.
Yeah. This will be a big day anyway.
Okay. What else we got?
Locally, of course, now the Knicks know who they're playing. The Cavaliers beat the Pistons, blew them out.
What a crazy series. Detroit won the first 2 games, and you're going, okay, the Pistons had the most wins in the Eastern Conference this year. Number 1 seed. All right, they're up 2-0. It makes sense. Cleveland goes home. They win the next 2. Okay, now you're reduced to a best of 3, but the Pistons have 2 of those games at home. Then you get to a game 5 in Detroit, and Cleveland wins. Now, Cleveland is up 3-2, and Cleveland goes home game 6 with a chance to close out the Pistons, and they lost by 30. So now the Pistons go home after clobbering the Cavaliers on the road with a chance to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals with a home win, and they were never even competitive last night. They were down by 16 in 5 minutes. I've never seen a series like this in my life where the home teams win every game, the first 4, and then couldn't find a way to stay competitive at home in the next 3.
Yeah, just got killed in these
all 3 of them.
games.
Yeah, it was wild.
Makes you think you can't figure either team out.
No, you can't.
How they're going to be.
I mean, look, the Cavaliers have 2 amazing players, Donovan Mitchell, and I know he's a cancer, he can't win, he's a playoff loser, James Harden. He's a very dangerous player, very. But if you're a Knicks fan, you're happy. Why is that? The Pistons were the number 1 seed. So if Detroit would have won this series, the Knicks would not have gotten home court advantage. But because Cleveland won and the Knicks finished ahead of Cleveland during the regular season, don't look now, but our Knicks have home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals. How wild is that?
Yeah, well, of course, things that people worry about as a fan is the Knicks have been at home resting, which you would think would benefit them. But then people always freak out that, they were lightning, they're white hot playing great basketball.
Doesn't exist.
Will they still play that?
Yeah, be fine. This is what Sports Talk Radio, WFAN, they have nothing else to talk about.
Right.
They'll be rusty for about 8 minutes. About 8 minutes. That's about it. It's like in a football game, too. Maybe for the first quarter. Otherwise, it'll be fine. I think it's much better for the Knicks. You get OG back. They need Anunoby. Obviously, he didn't play the last couple of games of last series, so he comes back healthy. There will be rust for what? Again, 8 minutes. These guys have now played 92 basketball games this year. You guys realize that? 92. 82 regular season games, 10 or 11 postseason games. A couple of days, they're not going to lose, forget how to play basketball. So they may come out slow in that first quarter, no question about it. That goes away very, very quickly. They're not going to lose the series or the game because they're rusty. So let's see what the Knicks can do. They're the better team. I think the Knicks are the better team. They're deeper. They're better. Had a better regular season. They've been dominant, the Knickerbockers, in the playoffs, winning 7 straight games after falling behind 2-1 to Atlanta. And again, Cleveland, no joke. Very good team. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, the big guy Allen. He's a good basketball player. Mobley is a terrific player. They're not going to be easy to beat, but the Knicks should win this series. And if they do, they're on to the NBA Finals, where they'll take on the winner of Oklahoma City, San Antonio. That is going to be a great series. In my opinion, those are the best 2 teams in the NBA. Wembanyama and the Spurs and the reigning champs, who are yet to lose a playoff game this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder. That starts tonight. And the Knicks, of course, have not been in the NBA Finals. Well, for how long now, Noam?
Wow.
I guess 99.
Yeah, you got to go
The
back.
Ewing team that lost to San Antonio.
Yeah.
That's the last time they made the finals. And 94, the Ewing team that lost to the Houston Rockets. So they've got a golden opportunity right now, the Knickerbockers, to do something good for New York. I mean, New York is such a mess. It really is. It's such a shame. It was a beautiful weekend. We were on the beach for 2 days, Danielle and I. Gorgeous. Nice breeze and sunny skies and families out, little kids. It was just beautiful. And you had the Mets and Yankees. I was there on Friday night. Amazing job by the Mets, especially yesterday. That home run by Taylor to tie the game, and the Mets get the win. They take the series. They take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Just a lot of great stuff here in New York, but it's just overshadowed by this despicable, anti-Semite, disgusting mayor who's a lowlife, and this wretched, wicked witch governor, who right now has a whole bunch of people on Long Island freaking out, trying to figure out a way to get to work this morning. The politicians in our city and our state are destroying what should be a beautiful place. And it still is. Trust me, I loved being in New York this weekend. I loved it. Had a great time. But they are really doing their very best. Mamdani, Hochul, senators, assembly people, legislators, to try to make us as miserable as possible. No other way to put it, Noam. That's it.
Well, and especially when it comes to this LIRR strike. I mean, they've known it's coming for months, more than months. And how they couldn't figure it out between the two sides and they make all the riders miserable is beyond me.
I think 5.5 months. So now that you went there, this is a perfect time to break. We'll do that, Lewis. And when we come back, we're going to talk to the current Nassau County executive, his constituents in Nassau County, as well as Ed Romaines in Suffolk County. They're the ones suffering this morning, but of course he's running against Kathy Hochul for governor. As I mentioned earlier, I saw him yesterday at the Jerusalem-Tel Aviv hockey game at the UBS Arena, him and Mazi Pilip. He is my overwhelming enthusiastic choice to be the next governor. We will talk railroad strike with the great Bruce Blakeman, an exclusive interview, which I did first early this morning. Bruce Blakeman on the strike. He's next.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
Tuesday, May 19th at 10:30 a.m., it's morning baseball. Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., have a pawsome time at Bark in the Park. Thursday, May 21st at 6:30, it's Pride Night with $5 Bud or Bud Light draft beer. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Bruce, as I said, I saw him again yesterday, him and Mazi Phillip. Long Island, well represented out there at the UBS Arena. Bruce looked great. But, of course, not a great day for a lot of Long Islanders yesterday. If you look at the stands yesterday, they were about half full. Of thousands of people that expected to come to UBS on Sunday to go to the game couldn't make it in because of the Long Island Railroad strike. Now it's a Monday morning, even worse. 300,000 people trying to get to work in New York City. They got no way in. So there was Bruce talking over the weekend, of course, running for governor against the wretched, evil witch that is Kathy Hochul, talking about what a terrible job she's done. He's exactly right, and we are honored this morning to have him on the biggest story in the city today. The Long Island Railroad is on strike. I don't know why. And here's my friend Bruce Blakeman. Bruce, good Monday morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. Doing well, thank you.
I'm glad you are. You talked about it over the weekend, this strike that Kathy Hochul has allowed to happen. She's blaming you. She's blaming President Trump. She'll probably blame me. Any Republicans gets blamed for this mess. Why is Long Island Railroad even on strike?
Well, first of all, the MTA is part of state government, not county government. So Kathy Hochul is in control of the MTA. This is a failure of leadership by Kathy Hochul. These negotiations have been going on for months, and I'm told she hasn't taken part in any of the negotiations. Union leaders have told me that she's been distant, that she's been aloof, that she hasn't paid attention to it. And, I don't blame the union leaders when they say to me, look, she's saying she doesn't have the money for our workers, but she gave out $8 billion over the last 3 years to illegal migrants who aren't New Yorkers. They're not even Americans. They've been here for 15 minutes, and they get all the money, and she's not giving it to New Yorkers. So that's why they're on strike, is because they're saying, hey, look, if you can't pay us a little more, why are you paying all the money to people who aren't New Yorkers? It's not right. And they have a good argument there. I feel that, the workers, they want to go back to work. But again, Kathy Hochul has been AOL.
Can you explain to me, again, this is the Nassau County executive. He'll be our next governor here, Bruce Blakeman. She's blaming Trump. I'm trying to figure out, I guess, in terms of the mediation process, how does President Trump get blamed for this obvious Kathy Hochul New York blunder?
Well, I don't know how she can do it. I think she probably would blame him for the bubonic plague if she thought she could get away with it. But he has nothing to do with the negotiations with the union. There are federal panels that make recommendations. They made recommendations to Kathy Hochul, and she didn't follow those recommendations. So if anything, she's the one that's not following the recommendations of a Federal Railroad panel. She is somebody who is completely out of touch, and that's why we're at this point right now. I really feel bad for the commuters. I feel bad for the small business people who are going to lose business today. I've already heard from people over the weekend that have been stuck at the airport, couldn't get a railroad ride home. This is going to be tough, and it's all because of Kathy Hochul.
It really is. And as far as I know, Bruce, you know better than me, I've been told that they're not miles apart. I mean, it's not like there's no way they can do this. I've been told that it's actually very close what the two sides want. So why would you put New Yorkers through this pain if it really is that close?
Well, again, she had $5.5 billion for Zoran Mondami to close his budget gap without any controls, without any strings attached to it. I mean, New York City, they don't have a revenue problem. They have a spending problem. So does New York State. And again, when you give $8 billion away to legal migrants, it's hard for union leaders to go back to their members and say, well, the state doesn't have the money. the members say, hey, if they don't have the money, it's because they gave it away to illegal migrants. That's not right, and they've got a good argument there.
Yeah, illegal migrants, like you said, and $8 billion she found for Zoran Mamdani last week, $4 billion a year for the next 2 years. I was talking to Brian Kilmeade, our mutual friend over at Fox News. He's on my show every day here, as you know, Bruce, and he said this may be a great opportunity for Bruce Blakeman. He also loves you. He lives in Nassau County. He said, Sid, first time in 30 years. I'm not going to be able to get home later this afternoon. He said maybe this is a good opportunity for Bruce Blakeman to actually mediate this. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if I were governor, there would be no strike because I would have been negotiating all along. I would have gotten actively involved, and they wouldn't be able to make the argument about me about the illegal migrants because I would never make this a sanctuary state. I would never allow billions of dollars to be spent on people that weren't New Yorkers. That's our taxpayer dollars that are being spent on people. All they have to do is arrive. They get free housing, free food, free transportation, a free cell phone. That wouldn't happen with Bruce Blakeman as governor. I would spend the money on the people. I would cut taxes, cut your utility costs in half, and create jobs in economic development, better jobs for people with higher wages and better benefits.
I mean, you look at the last couple of weeks, Bruce, and you've been gaining on her quite a bit the last couple of months. You know, you started out nearly 30 points behind. Now a lot of the polls that actually count, right, not these bullcrap liberal polls, have you single digits back. And you look at, again, a couple of days ago, her giving all that money to Mamdani. New Yorkers don't like that. The Long Island Railroad on strike. New Yorkers don't like that. Her constant bitching about President Trump, who has nothing to do. I mean, you got to think that the last couple of weeks have been great weeks for you, yes?
Well, we have a lot of momentum, Sid, with the utility cost 70% higher than the national average, and she's directly responsible for that. With economic development number 41 out of 50 states, which is a national embarrassment for the former Great Empire State, with the highest tax state in the United States, people are miserable. And now they're miserable about the safety and security. Throw on top of that the strike. Throw on top of that the corrections officers strike. Throw on top of that the nurses strike. She's not in control of government, and government is now out of control. They're spending money at crazy levels. People have had enough.
Bruce, I thought you said a really smart thing over the weekend, too, right? I mean, another thing that she did to this city, which she boasted about for a while, but now everyone knows it's not working. Everyone. That's congestion pricing. You said, hey, Kathy, sweetheart, if you're already screwing New Yorkers that can't get to work, if they have to drive in now, you would have a lot of balls to charge them $9+ for congestion pricing. The least you can do is suspend that tax, that punitive charge, until you fix the strike. I thought that was brilliant. I don't think she'll do it, but I thought that was a great idea, Bruce.
Well, that's the least she could do because now, not only do people have to get up 2 hours earlier to drive into the city, but they have to pay that $9 to drive downtown, and she has the ability to waive that. And she should, because it's, you talk about this state being affordable. This is the most unaffordable state in the United States. And Kathy Hochul has made it that way with taxes, congestion pricing, all these add-on fees, the green energy scam. So the least she could do is waive it during the strike, but she won't do that. And she won't do it because she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to help out common middle-class New Yorkers who have to get to work.
So is there going to be a meeting today, Bruce, with maybe you and Ed Romaine out of Suffolk County, somebody to figure out some contingency plans to try to help your constituents trying to get to work in New York City today?
Well, we're doing the best we can. So we're adding on additional buses for our routes. We're opening up our parking lots at all of our parks for carpooling. But there's not much we can do because, again, the railroad is something that over 300,000 commuters depend on daily, and we need that railroad open. Kathy Hochul should have been bargaining all weekend. I don't know what she was doing all weekend, but she should have been at the bargaining table negotiating with the union, and she should have tried to strike a deal.
Last one, Bruce. Again, I mentioned at the top of this conversation, I saw you yesterday at the UBS Arena, you and Mazi Phillip, and as always, you're gracious and beautiful, and people love you. They're going nuts in the arena, and you did a nice press conference, and you and signing autographs. It really is a great event. I didn't go last year. Yesterday was the first time I've been to this second annual Tel Aviv-Jerusalem game, and it was right there in your county, UBS Arena. That was a good time yesterday, yes?
It was a great time. People were having a lot of fun. It was a good athletic competition, and there was a spirit of good feelings towards the state of Israel, America's number one ally now. So, it was a great feeling for everybody. It was a good athletic competition too.
Really was. It was a pretty good game. One more in Israel. So, in all likelihood, our mutual friend who you were with for like 90 minutes less than 2 weeks ago in the Oval Office, the great president, Donald J. Trump, it looks like we're getting ready to restart this thing. Iran is not responding. I know you're not surprised. Either am I. Either is Trump. So, most people predict Wednesday or Thursday we're going back in. And what that means is it could be a long couple of weeks again for the people in Israel. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, the president, he doesn't want to put our soldiers in harm's way. He wants to do everything possible to try and not have the soldiers go in and fight again. But he's left with no choice. We can't let Iran get a nuclear weapon. That would be a danger to everybody in the world, but especially here in New York. We saw what they did on 9/11. They're perfectly willing to sacrifice their own lives to kill 3,000 New Yorkers. They would do it for 3 million New Yorkers and think nothing about it. The leaders of Iran could kill 3 million Americans and go to bed and not miss a wink of sleep. They have no conscience. They're evil, and they would do that, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. So I support President Trump.
And if you kill Kathy,
on that.
Me too. And when you kill Kathy Hochul, you've done a great job with this too, Bruce. You do what I do. You go to Hochul and Mamdani. I think Mamdani needs a little bit of a history lesson. He's really a coward and a creep. He purposely put out a video this weekend about Nakba Day, which nobody in New York knows what the hell this guy's talking about, but he purposely did it on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, to really stick it to the Jews. And clearly Mamdani needs a history lesson as to what really happened in 1948 when 5 Arab nations, 5 of them attacked Israel, and Israel defended themselves and do what they always do. They kicked their asses. That's what happened in 1948. So I'm not sure what Nakba Day is, but I thought it was pretty grotesque of this mayor to come out looking for Palestinian sympathy and really rewrite history and do it on Shabbat this weekend. Your thoughts on Mamdani?
Well, he's disgraceful. He's an anti-Semite. And I got to tell you, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, it doesn't matter. When I travel around New York City, there's buyer's remorse. Young people are coming up to me and telling me, this guy hasn't done a thing that he said he would do. It's more affordable now to live in New York. He offered free bus rides. He increased the fare the day after the election. So this guy is not the real deal. He's a bad guy. He's inexperienced, and he's an anti-Semite, and he's got un-American values.
Let's wrap this up where we started this. This is the Nassau County executive. He will be, folks. There's no question. He will be the next governor of New York. Why? He's the much better person. He's the much better candidate. He actually loves his city and this state, unlike, again, the wicked witch, Kathy Hochul. Bruce, give it to me, baby. Give me your message. Hochul's listening. Trust me. Give me your message to the governor on this strike right now.
Sit down, first thing this morning, make a deal. You've been giving money to illegal migrants. You can't make the argument to union leaders that you don't have the money after you did that. Spend the money on New Yorkers, end this strike.
Bruce, you're beautiful. I love you. It was great seeing you yesterday. You sound great this morning. And you're our savior. You're going to ride in like your beautiful white hair on that beautiful white horse and save our state here in New York. Bruce Blakeman, thank you so much.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Here's a tweet that I saw this weekend from Nicole Parker. Laura, FBI Special Agent Schwarzenberger, paid the ultimate sacrifice executing a search warrant in Sunrise, Florida, the morning of February 22nd, 2021. She left behind her husband and 2 young sons. And Nicole devoted an entire chapter in her great book, The Two FBI. She's been on this show talking about that book quite a bit. It's great. Laura was a woman of faith with God at the focal point of her life. Her integrity was unmatched. She is the epitome of FBI. You will never be forgotten. I miss you lots. I'll see you on the other side, Nicole Parker. So here she is, the author of that great book. The Two FBIs and former special agent out of Miami, now a superstar on Fox News, Nicole Parker. Nicole, I'm just curious for folks that don't know, because that was 2021 and it occurred in February. So what motivated you to tweet that out on a May date in 2026 this weekend?
Because last week was Police Week, and that's when we honor our fallen heroes in law enforcement. And so last week is a special week that's designated for heroes like Laura and others that paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty as law enforcement officers. And so, every week people come together in Washington, D.C. I had the honor and privilege of going a couple years ago and seeing Laura's name on the memorial wall. And, it's a sacred wall. It's something that I honor and respect very deeply. I'm so grateful, Sid. I know that you and I feel the same, that we now have a president, once again, who honors and respects our law enforcement. He backs the blue. And I would like to personally tell you that President Trump was not in office when Laura was killed. That was under the Biden administration. And I think it's important to note that the type of warrant that she was executing was what we call a VCAC, violent crimes against children. It was a child predator who was doing child pornography, a very dangerous individual. And those of us in law enforcement understand that those types of individuals probably have the highest propensity to violence, because when these child predators get caught, they know they're going away for a very long time, at least under jurisdictions like the Southern District of Florida. In California, they tend to not care about child predators, but in Florida, it's taken very seriously. And under the Biden administration, Laura and the operation that morning was provided no SWAT support, zero. Laura herself was a former SWAT operator. So she was a very highly tactical agent. She could hold her own, but that morning there were no SWAT resources, no protective equipment, nothing that was necessary in order to protect their lives. But Sid, during the same time frame under the Biden administration, this is when they were going full throttle against Trump supporters for January 6th nonviolent misdemeanors. And so the FBI was liberally sending SWAT resources across the country to go, bang down people's doors who had walked into the Capitol and taken a picture. That is an incorrect use of a type of resource. But for Laura's operation going after the most dangerous and violent, no SWAT support. And so I never understood that, and I was not okay with that. And I believe it was purely political. They were using SWAT resources to intimidate individuals, to intimidate Trump supporters, to go after January 6 misdemeanors. But when it came time to really protect our agents, no SWAT, no protection at all. And I believe that her life would have been saved if they'd been given proper protection that morning. And so it's not just that she paid the ultimate sacrifice, because we all know when you sign up to be in law enforcement, you take the oath, you have the gun and the badge, and you know that your life could be taken at any moment. That's the risk. But there's also an expectation that the bureau that you're working for is going to do everything that they can to give you the proper amount of protection to protect your life, and they did not do that morning for Laura. So I believe that this is entirely preventable. It did not happen under Trump's watch. But President Trump, this year, on the 5-year anniversary of her being murdered in the line of duty, took the time out of his busy day, and it was on a Sunday afternoon. It was when a man had come to Mar-a-Lago with a gun. It was when Mexico was on fire with all the cartels. It was also the day that the men's hockey team won the gold medal in the Olympics. So there was a lot going on the day that he took time out of his busy schedule, and he personally called Laura's husband and said that he appreciated Laura's ultimate sacrifice and that she would never be forgotten. And her 2 young sons that they left behind, he also left a special message for them as well. And that is who President Trump is. And that is why I am so grateful that he is here, because he backs the blue. He backs the solid men and women of the FBI doing the heavy lifting, and he genuinely cares about the one. And no one ever talks about this. He does it quietly behind the scenes. I just know because Laura's husband personally told me. He said, Nicole, you're not going to believe this. I just got a phone call from President Trump thanking me for Laura's ultimate sacrifice. And that goes a long way.
Oh, my God, absolutely. My buddy Tom Kniff checks in, the brilliant attorney. He, of course, represented Daniel Penny, many clients, but Daniel Penny's the most famous. He says, I've got January 6 clients who had flashbang grenades thrown into their children's bedrooms during those FBI raids. But you heard Trump there with me last week, and so many people that I really love and respect, Greg, one from Kelly here, so critical of the Secret Service. The last time this guy tried, it was a ridiculous plan. It was actually stupid for a guy that everybody describes as so smart. It was a stupid plan. It was never going to work. But nevertheless, he gave it a shot at the hotel in D.C. a couple of weeks ago. And that's a true story, too. The next morning, I spoke to President Trump via text about 7:30 a.m. He got back to me in 2 minutes, and he thanked the Secret Service. Other people say, well, that's just Trump. Like you just said, Nicole, he loves to back the blue. He loves the people that protect him. But the truth is they're not doing a great job. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, again, President Trump exercises, I think, an exorbitant amount of grace because the way that he graciously thanked the Secret Service for protecting his life that night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think was quite incredible, because many of us who are very protective of the president thought that, you know, the Secret Service needs to step it up, that shooter should have never even been even that close to President Trump. But after what happened on July 13th with Butler, Pennsylvania, where President Trump miraculously was saved, I mean, we know that was by the grace of God. I know that for a fact. I think President Trump knows that for a fact. He could have been taken off this earth just like Laura took one assault rifle round to the head and she was done. President Trump turning his face saved his life. I believe that was divine intervention. But I have to say that after that experience, the fact that he never saw the shooter the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he never broke into the ballroom. I think Trump sees that as a success. You know, obviously after what he dealt with, having a bullet graze his face and his ear, I think I don't want to say this negatively, but it almost sets the bar kind of low that's what he's accustomed to. He's accustomed now to knowing that his life could be taken at any moment. But the thing about President Trump, he never backs down. He has no fear. He wanted to get back on the stage at that dinner, and the Secret Service and law enforcement were like, "That's not a good idea. Let's follow security protocols. Let's not do that." The guy's relentless, just like Butler. Gets up, fight, and he's a true inspiration to all of us. We're not going to back down. We're not going to live life in fear. But I also do think that the Secret Service and those that were on the protection that night, the fact that the magnetometer was coming down before the event had even started, the fact that the dog had, gone near that stairwell, near the door, the word is complacency. And I think that's what happened the morning that Laura was killed. I think there was complacency. When you're a Secret Service agent, it is high pressure. We know that. They are working around the clock. It is high burnout. They're expected to travel all around. They're separated from their families. They're standing at post for 12 hours at a time. There is no room for failure. And so it needs to be taken very seriously. They need to hire the best of the best. But every time you're on duty, whether you're Secret Service, HSI, FBI, DEA, especially Secret Service, you have to assume that while you're there's someone attempting to assassinate President Trump at every single moment of the night, day, whatever it might be. You can never, ever take your eye off the ball. You cannot let your guard down, and you've got to be ready to go. And we say in law enforcement, we have to be good. The bad guys just have to get lucky. When you're firing a shot, the fact that the shooter was never even shot when the agent were trying to shoot at him. And I get that because it's high pressure. That's why the training is so important. When it comes down to those high pressure situations, it's muscle memory. And, like we say, for the bad guy, they just have to get lucky. For us, it has to be precision. And so, I think that the Secret Service is taking another look at this and saying, what can we do to extend perimeters? What can we do to be more vigilant? What can we do? They're always looking for improvements. And that is the key, Sid. Anytime you have something like this, there has to be an after-action review what went wrong, and how are we going to fix it? And that's the other problem I had with Laura's situation. Under Christopher Wray and the Biden FBI, there was no after-action review for 2.5 years after that happened. It was as if they just shoved it under the rug, didn't want any accountability. No one even knew what happened. And to this day, her husband does not have a clear understanding what happened to his wife that morning. And again, let's keep in mind, 2 agents were killed, 3 others were shot. That is unacceptable. If you're not learning something from your failures, it's going to continue to happen over and over and over. And if there's no accountability, it will continue.
Great. Couple more minutes. You know, you're bringing up the FBI. This is Nicole Parker, former special FBI agent down in Miami. She's got a great book out, The 2 FBIs. Go read it. Trust me. It's great. Trump loves it. So do I. She's on Fox News all the time. In fact, I think I hear Dan Bongino a couple times already come out with quotes that I think I read in your book. I'm just saying. Dan, I think I read some of that stuff in Nicole's book. But I want you to be honest with me, okay? This FBI right now under Kash Patel, he comes under a lot of fire. And he comes under fire, I will tell you, from even Trump supporters. I got guys in this building who work with the FBI that, they kind of shoot their eyes up when I ask about Kash Patel. So be honest here, Nicole. How do you think the FBI is running now with Kash for the Trump administration?
Well, I think that after what we went through, it's clearly detailed in my book. The FBI was in a very, very low place when I left under the Biden administration. I literally walked away because I saw no chance of it improving. I didn't know who was going to win the election in 2024 because I left in the end of 2022. I think that what he walked into is an absolute disaster zone. I think that it's going to take a substantial amount of time to fix it. But I do believe that the key is to keep your eye on the ball and not be distracted with these sideshows and give no reason for anyone to come after you and attack you. Keep your eye on the mission, get the job done. There is so much to be done over there. I think that they have made, some great moves in getting rid of individuals that really should not have been there. Certain people that have politically weaponized the FBI. I think they have a long way to go. But I think what's most important right now is that those inside the Bureau have to have trust and confidence in their director. And while the director is what I call FBI 1, the good agents and staff, FBI 2 are the politically weaponized, not good. They're the bad side of the FBI that does not make us proud, whereas FBI 1 is Laura Schwarzenbergers of the FBI who are doing real solid work. They're amazing people there, but basically the director has to have the trust and confidence of FBI 1 and build up that morale while simultaneously obliterating FBI 2. And if you don't have the support of the rank and file, frankly, nothing else matters because they're the ones actually on the ground. They're the boots on the ground doing the work, and they've got to have confidence in the director. And I think the key is to keep your eye on the ball and not get wrapped up in all of these sideshows that are, don't give the left-wing media, frankly, are just obliterating right now and trying to go after the FBI and the director. Frankly, it's not really the FBI. They're actually going after the director. Let's make that clear. In the past, it was the FBI. No, they have problems with what's happening. But the key is to give them no wiggle room to work with, give them nothing to even make stuff up about, just keep your eye on the ball, keep focusing, stop the terrorists, stop the violent crimes, stop the human trafficking, and don't feed anything that they're saying. If you know that it's not true, just keep plowing forward and keep your eye on the mission and keep going. And so, let's see what happens. I know that it's a very daunting task. It's a thankless job, but the key is you've got to have the respect. You've got to have the respect of the agents and, frankly, the entire law enforcement community, because people need to know the FBI is nothing without the support of their local law enforcement. Sometimes people think, the FBI comes in and takes over the case and whatever. I myself as a field agent knew without the support of those working shoulder to shoulder, like let's say with Broward County Sheriff's Office or Miami-Dade Police Department, without them, we can't get our jobs done. So not only do you have to have the support of, the agents within the FBI, you've got to have the support of all the other federal agencies, DEA, all of them, and you've got to have support of the local law enforcement. So it's a daunting task, but let's see what happens. It can be done, and it can be done successfully. And I think the key is that the FBI director has to operate with the highest level of integrity.
That is a great and honest answer. Great and honest answer. Katzmatidis is coming up next. I'm going to tell him to get your book signing done. I'm going to get that big party going for you here in New York. You're doing great. The Two FBIs is a great book. You're terrific every time you're on Fox News. You really are. You're great every time you're on here too, Nicole. So I'm pondering. I may go to Florida for the weekend. You've invited me to a couple of events for Memorial Day weekend, so I'm really thinking about it actually. So I'll be in touch.
I'm going to be skydiving with the U.S. Army's Golden Knights into the Miami Beach Air and Sea Show. So I've been skydiving before, but never with the U.S. Army. So it'll be my honor and privilege to do that this Saturday. It'll be incredible.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. All right, I'll call you later on during the week. But thank you for this great appearance and continued success with the book and your career. You really are terrific. Thank you so much.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Thank you so much. I love y'all and God bless.
Love you too. Nicole Parker right there, former FBI special agent down in Miami. She's really great. See her on Fox News all the time, now becoming a regular on Sid and Friends in the morning. Still to come, next hour we'll talk to Wyatt Imus, the son of Don, making his second appearance. He's now 27 years old. Hank Scheinkauf makes his debut. Never been on this show before. He'll be on later on in the 8 o'clock hour talking about this loser Mamdani. What a lying piece of garbage this guy is. Nakba Day. Shove Nakba Day up your ass, Mr. Mayor. And coming up next, Mr. Red Apple Media himself, our dear friend John Katsimatidis.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
What kind of world do you want? That's the question. I want the type of world that Trump wants, not the type of world that we've been living in for the last 8 of 12 years with people like Obama and Biden running our country. John Katsimatidis does an amazing job at this station and also hosts 2 great shows, 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon alongside Rita Cosby. It's the Katz and Cosby Show, and, of course, his masterpiece, 8 a.m. every Sunday morning, the Katz Round Table. John, I want to start here today. I had Trump on last Tuesday, and thanks to you, you came to me and said, ask him about this. So I did. Asked him about AM radio. He said, Sid, not on my radar right now, but it's important. So seemingly President Trump is going to fight for us. I know you and Chad have done a lot of work trying to save AM radio, and it came out a couple of days ago, Inside Radio, that WABC is the #1 AM station across the country. So congratulations, John.
Well, thanks. And what we want to do is, that's not enough for me. We want to be the #1 station in the world. And we are going to challenge the BBC. We're going to challenge even Voice of America with President Trump's approval. And we want the truth to get out. We don't want, anybody that's a Republican is welcome to come on WABC. Anybody that's a Democrat is welcome to come on WABC. And anybody that's an independent is welcome to come on WABC. We want all the voices, and we want the people, the European people, the American people, everybody to decide the truth. And the truth is, like in Iran, you can't trust the current Iranian regime with nuclear weapons. I mean, it's like my physics professor used to say, it's intuitively obvious. And even Xi, the Chinese, said, yes, you cannot trust the current regime with nuclear weapons. Yeah. They said it.
Well, but you can't trust you either because he's playing both sides here. He's supplying Iran with weapons, so you can't trust him. I know he said it, but to me that means nothing. When he says something, when Putin says something, I know Trump is doing the best he can to make a great deal, and I thought Trump was magnificent last week, but I don't trust Xi either. But you're right. There's no way we can allow that, and that's why I think either Wednesday or Thursday, John, we're going to start firing again in Iran.
Well, he's the president of the United States. He makes the decisions. And I know he talked to Netanyahu yesterday. And I'm sure they have a game plan. And, well, I'm sure they didn't talk about it on the telephone because even the secure telephones they don't trust.
That's true. You're right. You really can't. You can't. I mean, everything today seems like if they want it, they can get it. Telephone conversations, text messages. It's very hard to really, if they want it, they're going to find a way to get it.
The Chinese even loaned their satellites to Iran to see where the United States destroyers and
That's
where
right.
the United States aircraft carriers are.
That's right.
You can't trust. You know what happens? The Biden administration during those 4 years trusted, and guess what? We were invaded, and the United States was invaded and hurt in so many ways. Whether it was the Chinese, whether it was the Iranians, whether it was the Russians, America was under attack. And any American citizen that doesn't realize that, well, guess what? you better get a reality check.
Shame on them. You're right. I tell you, this governor, too, can't trust her either. I mean, we've got this.
I'm very, very disappointed in her.
Oh, come on.
She has, we give everybody a chance, but I'm very, very disappointed because she could find all the money she wants, and the city could find all the money they want, and even Eric Adams found all the money they needed for the migrants. But when it comes down to the American citizens, they can't find it. Everything is fair in love and war, but it's a problem. And, I had Governor DeSantis on my radio show yesterday, and, he's governor until the end of the year. And then I think him and President Trump have made peace, and I think President Trump is going to offer him a cabinet position, and he may be eligible for 2028. He's done a wonderful job in Florida, and he is in New York today and tomorrow, and he's going to be speaking at the New York State Gala, the GOP Gala, and people are looking forward to hearing him because Florida, I guess 24 million people. I had Rick Scott on, too, and he was governor of Florida for 8 years.
When I lived there, he was governor. Yeah.
And at one point, New York State had more residents than in Florida. And now Florida has 24 million people.
Of course.
And New York is down to 19.5 or something like that. Of course. And finally we all find out the reason for the Biden migration. Because they count congressional seats in the Senate. They count dead people, and they count migrants and dead people. I mean,
of course.
Dead people Judicial Watch is doing a big job trying to eliminate all the dead people, et cetera, off the census because the blue states are losing a lot of votes, a lot of voters, and they're moving. They're moving to Texas. They're moving to Florida, and I was on Fox that time when Governor Hochul said, "Okay, all you people down in Florida, please move on back."
No, please. I was there. I was on the beach.
Laughed.
No, listen, I was on. You remember, John? I was on the beach in Fort Lauderdale that morning. I tweeted, "I'm going to start finding ex-New Yorkers on the beach." It's about a month ago, and asked them to come back. Why would they want to come back? All you have is a jihad mayor and a governor that wants to tax you up the ass. I'm sure they can't wait to come back. And it was snowing, by the way, in New York, and I was on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. It was 78 degrees. But look. You talked about the money for the illegals that she found. She also found a lot of money, billions of dollars, to give to her friend who she's scared to death of, the mayor of this city, Zoran Mamdani, so he can make his budget look better than it really, really is. And as you heard with me and Bruce Blakeman this morning, I had the exclusive with Bruce Blakeman early this morning, 6 o'clock hour. At the very least, Governor Hochul, at the very least, should pause the congestion pricing. If you're going to screw all those people on Long Island, stop blaming Trump. He has nothing to do with this. Okay, Kathy? You can find billions of dollars for illegals, for your buddy Mamdani. If you're going to screw all these fine people trying to get to work from Nassau and Suffolk County, the least you can do is pause that $9 congestion pricing, which is really a punishment for New Yorkers trying to work in this city.
They hurt. New York City was hurt so much more than people realize. There's a report out, and I think Steve Phillip has a copy of it from the New York City Partnership, that how much Manhattan has gotten hurt very, very badly on this congestion pricing. Stores have closed. The cost of delivering for vendors to deliver into Manhattan, they want a premium. So we got a problem. We got a problem. For whom did the bells toll? And they're not tolling for the average New Yorker right now. They want to raise real estate taxes down to the middle class. Forget about the rich. The middle class is going to get punished with these new taxes that want to go in. And I think that the Bruce Blakeman, Kathy Hochul governorship, I think is going to get tighter and tighter, because people are going to reach the what do you call it in Brooklyn, the FU level. You know, I mean, how do you say enough is enough? I mean, there's too much. We're going to chase everybody out, and I don't want that. I hate to see New York City, New York State lose. I'm trying to talk common sense to everybody. And originally, when it was the 100-day rule, I said, well, let's do 150 days because everybody's still on the learning curve. But that 150 days is going to be coming up soon, and I am worried about the city. I'm worried about the state. And you know who's going to get hurt at the end of the day? The people that are going to get hurt at the end of the day are the New York State workers. There's 200,000 of them, the New York City workers, because if the rating agencies shoot down the bond ratings of the city and the state, then there's has to be layoffs, and the city workers and the state workers are going to get hurt. And so everybody's going to get hurt. What we want is America first, American citizens first, and I think we put a stop to migration. Well,
he closed the border. He closed the border.
We closed the border,
right?
And what's going to take November of 1980, November of 2026 is going to be a big decision on all American people on voting for common sense versus voting for for more drug boats and more fentanyl coming in from Mexico.
Yep.
I mean, when we talk about America under attack, the Chinese could put an end to all the fentanyl coming in from Mexico in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, said. Okay, President Trump put an end to all the drugs coming in from Venezuela by shooting down all those boats.
Yeah.
And why did the Democrats side with the boats coming in from Venezuela? I still don't understand that. Where is the common sense?
There is no common sense.
I know Cory Booker.
He's a moron. He's a moron.
In New Jersey.
He's a moron.
Why is he siding with the boats coming in from Venezuela?
Because
drugs to kill the American people.
Because it's whatever Trump wants, they go against it. Cory Booker's a moron. He's not a smart guy. Anybody who's willing to sacrifice the lives of our children here in America or illegals walking down the street and putting a bullet in Sheridan Gorman's back, or throwing a Vietnam vet Richard Williams on a subway train because they hate Trump and they've decided that disagreeing with Trump is more important than American values and American lives. Those are not good people, not having a bad day. They're scumbags, John. That's what they are, and that is about 99% of the Democrat Party. That's your bottom line.
Well, that is very, very sad, and the American people have to realize it's very sad. And you know what it's going to take? Just like 1984, that 49 states were lost.
That's right.
To the Republicans, to Ronald Reagan.
That's right.
Ronald Reagan won 49 states, and the 50th state, he only lost by 18,000 votes.
That's right.
So at what point? That's the only way that common sense may come back to the Democratic Party. Otherwise, the Democratic Socialist Party has taken over the Democratic Party, and enough is enough. You need common sense, and God bless America. I mean, it's just, and I think Bruce Blakeman, I think he's going to start coming very close. I think the polls were going to reverse themselves, and because New York City, New Yorkers, whether you're voted, it's not about being a registered Democrat. It's being pro-New York and pro-common sense. I mean, enough is enough.
Agreed. Well, it's not all terrible news. The sun's shining today. Little J3 is walking. Had a nice dinner with AJ this weekend. You're back in the Hamptons. The weather's getting nice. So it's not all terrible news yet, John, but we certainly have a lot of work to do. And if anybody's up with that work, it's you and I.
This weekend is Memorial Day weekend?
I know.
When did it sneak up on us?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, it was such a long winter, John. All those massive snowstorms and ice cold weather. We need it. This was a gorgeous weekend, wasn't it, last weekend?
It was a gorgeous weekend, and the sun was shining on New York.
Yeah.
And I was walking through Central Park yesterday, and there must have been a zillion people in Central Park.
Yeah.
And the trees are green, and New York is the greatest place in the world. And I urge all New Yorkers, let's make sure we keep New York City and New York State the greatest country, greatest city, greatest state in the world. And all we have to do is just fight for New York.
That's it. Well said. Excellent appearance, John. Great way to start the week. I'll see you here later on today. Love you. Great job. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care. John Katzmatidis right there. And, of course, you can hear John 5 o'clock every weekday afternoon alongside Rita Cosby. It's the Katz and Cosby Show. And, of course, 8 a.m. every Sunday morning, the Katz Roundtable. Still to come, Wyatt Imus. You believe it? Wyatt, already 27 years old, the son of the late, great Don Imus. Hank Scheinkoff makes his debut on Sid and Friends in the morning. And when we get back after the news, we waited for this guy for days now. Gordon Chang. Follow Gordon on Twitter at Gordon G. Chang. Got to get Gordon's opinion on Trump's visit to China. Gordon Chang coming up.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Gordon Chang, Gordon G. Chang on Twitter. Gordo, I only wanted to talk to you last week. You were so busy. President Trump's trip to China. Home run for America, or you wanted to see more?
Well, right now we just don't know, Sid, because, normally Sino-U.S. Summits are all planned in advance. Everything's decided before the foreign leader wheels up. This one, President Trump gets a lot of credit for going toe-to-toe with Xi Jinping on enemy soil. I know that a lot of people have scored it in favor of China, and I can see why they say that, but I think those assessments are premature. So for instance, we saw Xi Jinping say some very, very arrogant things, mentioning New Era, Thucydides' trap. President Trump showed restraint, and I think that restraint was the better response for him. And eventually Trump's going to get back at Xi Jinping for trying to humiliate not only President Trump, but the United States, because this will not go unanswered. So people see this and they say that Trump didn't respond, and so therefore they think Xi Jinping's in control. But no, that's not the case at all.
It's interesting because the last time Obama went to China, because Biden didn't go, he had Xi here in San Francisco. Obama arrived in China like nobody was there. Nobody cared. Trump showed up. They had the red carpet. They had state banquets. They treated Trump like the man that he is, the greatest leader in the world today. So right off the bat, they treated Trump with a lot of respect. But there were some times, like you said, Taiwan, for example. China got very, very tough with Taiwan. But President Trump didn't back down there either. In fact, he even said, if I have to, I'll supply the Taiwanese with weapons. So, and even with Iran, where Xi promised some things that he's never going to do. I'm not exactly sure where people saw Xi have an advantage. He remained tough on a couple of items. Xi did. I'll give him credit for that. But in none of those situations did President Trump back down. Not that I can remember.
That's right. Trump did not back down. He did not make concessions. And he played the quiet role here. And I think that showed self-confidence. I think Xi Jinping really tried to go out to give Trump a hard time. And he did that in a number of different ways, not only with those statements on Thursday, but on the second day, those two chairs at Zhongnan High, Xi Jinping's was higher and Trump's was lower.
Yeah.
So, just Xi Jinping was playing silly games. And that's really the sign of an insecure leader. And China has a lot of reasons to be insecure, largely because their country is falling apart beneath Xi Jinping. We're seeing in the last couple hours, we saw some very distressing numbers out of their economy. That continues a long trend. We know the Chinese people are either angry or resigned to what's going on. And also, there's this demography that China is going through the biggest demographic collapse in history. Trump knows all that and decides not to press the advantage, at least on the outside. But Trump he did get a lot of concessions from China, and people aren't properly scoring it for that reason. As I said, we won't know for quite some time how this all really came out, but I think that when it does, it'll show that Trump got the upper hand.
I think so, too. Of course, I'm biased for Trump, so you can't trust a word that I say. But I got to tell you this, G, you can't trust him. It's a joke. When I say, people will tell me on the show, G said this. What do I care what he said? You can't trust him. On one hand, at the state banquet, he'll say all these nice things about Trump, and then he'll warn Trump, don't mess with Taiwan. Then he'll tell Trump, we'll help you with Iran. And then 10 minutes later, he'll send a whole bunch of weapons through the Caspian Sea. It's like Putin. Same exact thing. Putin's on the phone with Trump. Trump says, Vlad, I love you. I love you too. Can you stop bombing Ukraine, please? Sure. 10 minutes later, Putin drops a bomb. All these guys, whether it's Xi in China or Putin in Russia or Rocket Man in North Korea, you can't trust any of them. It doesn't matter what they say to Trump, what they say to the media. They are still our adversaries. And in the end, they're worried about their own asses, not ours.
Absolutely. And I would say they're enemies in the case of Xi Jinping because that's what his regime calls us. So I think that we do need to return the favor. And Xi Jinping doesn't adhere to his promises. In the middle of April, Xi Jinping told President Trump that they wouldn't be sending weapons to Iran, that they haven't sent weapons to Iran. And now, we hear the same promise at the summit. But as you point out, in the interim, China was sending weapons to Iran. They were doing that through various routes, including sending their military transports, turning off their transponders and landing dark in Iran. Well, military transports usually carry military equipment. So, there's a problem there. And Trump knows that, and I'm sure that Trump is one way or another going to deal with it. But on the other hand, as our president said before he left for Beijing, I don't need China's help on Iran. And that's true. Chinese have been basically bystanders, except for some sly maneuvers of sending weapons. But probably they have not had a major difference, those weapons.
Listen, Trump's a real smart guy. He was on with me for 45 minutes last Tuesday. He mentioned China, the trip, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And Iran, it's all great. I don't think he went there with any real expectations, Gordon. And you're smarter than me with this, Gordon Chang. With any real expectations that China was going to help us in the war. That's why he said we don't need them, because he knew they weren't going to help us. I think this trip was based on a nice photo op between the two countries and, more importantly, business. Right? He took 20 CEOs. I heard day one, NVIDIA already did 10 different deals supplying chips to Chinese businesses. and he had the Boeing guy there, and he had Elon Musk there, and I don't know how many of those guys actually got deals done, but at the very least, some of those guys, the less high-profile guys, like Wang, for example, from the video, they had a chance to meet some of these Chinese businessmen, which I think will go a long way in the future. So for me, this deal was always about American business in China, and to a certain extent, Chinese business in America. And on that front, I think Trump did well.
Yeah, I mean, we sold 200 planes. Now, those sales have got to be documented, but I do believe the Chinese will adhere to that promise. I'm not crazy about more Chinese investment in the U.S. because those factories are bases of subversion, and we're already being overwhelmed by the Chinese in our country.
Why can't we stop that? But why can't we stop that? I mean, we know this already. Just about everything they buy here and do here comes with a camera. Right? It comes with the real possibility that they're spying on us. Why don't we just stop that?
I think that we absolutely should, because we know that it's going on. You know, take the issue of Chinese students spying. Now, we also know that the Chinese consular officials and Ministry of State Security agents monitor, coerce, and surveil Chinese students. If we get those diplomats out of the scene, if we get those agents out of our country, then, you know, we've got a decent chance of having a good relationship with Chinese students. But, you know, this is now on us, and it's been on us for quite some time because we've known about this for a very long time, Sid. So, yes, it is our responsibility now because, by the way, it's our country.
Right. Last I checked, right? 2 more. No, you got something to do at 9 o'clock. I'll let you run. Iran is also crazy. I mean, you know, they're blowing up other Arab countries that were on Iran's side before Epic Fury. And now they're not because Iran just dropping bombs everywhere. And what they take out now, 2 Chinese vessels? Do they not understand, no matter what she said to Trump last week? It's all nonsense. The Chinese still favor Iran over America, and she will still help them. So if you're Iran, why would you start blowing up Chinese vessels when they're about your last hope?
Yeah, that to me doesn't make sense. The only way I can make sense of this is that China put Iran up to it so that Xi Jinping could look like an honest broker. But that's just a wild speculation. That's the only thing that makes sense to me right now because, as you point out, Iran hitting Chinese ships is completely insane.
Unless they're just, you know, so whacked out and paranoid, they're just, I don't know, they're just shooting all over the place. And, you know, I expect that this thing's going to start up again on Wednesday or Thursday, and that's going to put the people that I care about, the Israelis, in serious danger because, as you know, Iran's not going to hit Staten Island. They're not going to hit Cincinnati. They're going to hit Tel Aviv again. My daughter's supposed to go June 1st. I'm supposed to go for a week and a half, June 18th. Not that I'm worried about us necessarily, but you know, once Trump hits them on Wednesday or Thursday, the next city to get hit is going to be in Israel.
Yes, it will. You know, and there's some things that Trump can do which will just require a minimal use of force, but which will be extremely effective. One of them is to declare a no-fly zone over Iran. That involves no force. And the other is to just sever those rail links that Iran is using to send oil to China. It's a pretty inefficient way of doing that, but at least they're getting a little bit of money, so we should cut off all of Iran's links with the outside. And that's a pretty minor operation. Now, I don't know what President Trump's going to do. I mean, he could take out a lot of infrastructure. We'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, you're absolutely right. This is coming down the road. And by the way, China is a bystander.
Yeah, at the very least. They may be more than that. I think they're on the other team. All right, so...
well, they are on the other team, but they can't do very much because we've got the power. And the Chinese, they're being chased out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
They're being chased out of the Western Hemisphere.
True.
And you got to thank Trump for that.
You're right. So in the final 60 seconds, Gordon Chang, follow him at Gordon G. Chang. I love you. I know Trump still loves you, too. I know you guys have a little back and forth, but he loves you. Give me what you want to see. You said, we're not going to know for a while here. What has to happen when we do find out? What do you want to hear that says that this was absolutely a successful trip for Trump?
Yeah, a couple things. One of them is I'd like to see Pastor Ezra Jin freed. Trump said that probably would happen. I'd like to see Jimmy Lai freed. Trump said that's probably not going to happen. And the other thing is I'd like to see the administration go ahead with that $14 billion arms sale to Taiwan. The Chinese right now are not in no position to invade Taiwan. It's the perfect time to sell arms. That enhances deterrence, and it also encourages our friends. And I think the Trump administration will indeed authorize that sale. So out of those three things, probably two of them will occur.
And if they do, we win, right?
Well, yeah, and I think what it is right now, because we haven't really made any concessions, I think we're probably a little bit above water. We'll see. But I think that this is going to be scored a Trump victory. And by the way, I think historians for decades are going to look at this summit as just pivotal.
I agree with you. Gordon, you're terrific. You really are great. You know that. I think you're great. So thank you for hopping on today. I was looking forward to this conversation. As always, you did not disappoint. And we'll do it again very soon, Gordon Chang. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Sid. And I really appreciate it.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, I've been looking forward to talking to this guy for a long time. He's got a great grasp of what's going on in New York City. He has for the longest time, yet he's never been on this show. But he'll be on now, Hank Scheinkoff. Hank, welcome to Sid and Friends in the morning. It's nice to have you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me on, Sid. I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the mayor needs a bit of a history lesson, this moron, because what happened in 1948, I know you know this, Hank, you're a very smart guy, was that even after the UN got involved in 1947 and they wanted to split up Israel and the Arabs to two states, and Israel said yes. Okay, Israel said yes. In 1948, the Arabs, 5 countries, 5 of them, Egypt, Jordan, a whole bunch of them, Syria, they decided, nah, we changed our mind. We're going to kill all the Jews and take over. But here's what they didn't get. You ain't beating us. So we kicked their asses, and we won. And we made Israel an independent state in 1948. So when this mayor talks about Nakba Day, which is ridiculous in this city, okay, and tweets it out on Shabbos purposely to stick it up the Jews' ass, Hank, Nakba Day, this day where 70,000 Palestinians were displaced, that's a lie. That's not true. They were actually forced out by their own people who decided to start a war and got their asses kicked. That's how that went. You know that, right?
Of course. Of course. And look, the whole issue is a lie. You know, Bernard Lewis, the great scholar on the Middle East and Islam, talked about this 70 years ago that he predicted jihad, and he predicted that because the Arabs would keep losing these wars, they would be humiliated. Muslim people would be humiliated overall and would seek revenge, which is what they've done. If you look at the history of the region, people have to stop lying and ask themselves, where are the Zoroastrians? Where are the Baha'i? Where are the Chaldean Catholics? Where are the Coptic Christians who were once 90% of Egypt? Where are the Assyrian Catholics? What happened to all these people? They were murdered, ejected. I mean, Jews were the largest population in Yemen at one point. What happened to all these people? We're not, and why are the black people who are Muslims in West Africa? Why is this the case? This is not by accident. We're talking about people who do not believe in, what's the good word, in pluralism, who don't believe that somehow Jews should exist in the region. And it is a source of embarrassment to them. And despite the fact that they killed in Hebron in 1929 is a classic where rape and murder were the act of the day based on a rumor. And that was a constant in pre-Israel mandate Palestine. There's never been a country named Palestine. It's a ridiculous idea. Palestina was created by the Romans after the 70 AD destruction of the Second Temple. And there was a large Jewish population that was allowed to exist. The rabbinic sources that were there. The larger question, Sid, is if this is all successful, the West is finished, because the basic arguments of democracy, which are, the Fifth Amendment is a Jewish idea. Protection of women's rights is in the marriage contract. The Ketubah is a Jewish idea. Incorruptible courts is a Jewish idea. Let's see what else. Property rights, it's expensive, is a Jewish idea. Protection against abuse by government is a Jewish idea.
I'll take it a step further, Hank. I'll take it a step further.
On and on and on.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'll give it. How about this? How about this?
Yeah.
Christianity is a Jewish idea. I've got Father Casado on here often. The Monsignor comes on Good Friday, comes on all these.
Very, very good man.
He's a great man. And I said, you got to explain to me how any Christian could ever be an anti-Semite. He said, I don't get it either, because the truth is, first of all, Jesus was Jewish, but there is no Christianity without Judaism.
You cannot, what Christianity did, and look, I know a little bit about this stuff. What Christianity did was it attempted to put a spiritual light through the laws as we created them, and that relationship between the two religions is not insignificant. And the church, thank God for the Holy Father, Pope John the 23rd in 1963, ended the great enmity between Jews and the Christian world, the Catholic world anyway. And that was, with the papal encyclical of that year, which ended the calls for destruction of Judaism. So now what we have is a recreation of unfortunately, religion that has not had a reformation, Islam, and the Jews are in the middle of it again because we're not leaving our homeland. And that's where we were. We were there before Islam. Islam's a new religion on the block. They're here since 1,300 years. We're here for 3,500 years, and have been Jews in that country for over, let's say good numbers, over 2,000 years. And the great books that I've talked about, the Torah and the Talmud, describe those kinds of rights and frankly responsibilities of any civilized or functioning system. So we have a complete reversal of ideas here, and we have the left somehow having this delusional idea that there will be a pluralistic society once we're gone. Douglas Murray and others and Melanie Phillips have talked about this, reasonable scholars, that's not going to happen, and the country is at great risk right now.
Couldn't agree more. And start with New York and you talk about the country. Hank, you've been covering local races for a long time. The great Hank Shankoff right here. That was also a great little history lesson right there. Somebody send that to Mamdani, what Hank just said. You've been covering the city's politics for a long time. God was good to me. I turned 59 last month. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen horrible mayors. I don't know how you feel about these guys. Doesn't matter. Bill de Blasio was a horrendous mayor. Horrendous. Quite frankly, Eric Adams was a major disappointment. 3 of his 4 years, he did nothing but take care of illegals and all the wrong people in this city. But this guy, I've never seen anything like this. I've made the point in my lifetime, he's probably the most dangerous, that's the word, the most dangerous politician that I've seen in our country. Is that a gross overstatement?
I don't think it's an overstatement. I think that he is to be commended. He is an extraordinarily brilliant communicator. I predicted in January of 2025 that he would be the mayor, and everybody said I was nuts. And you can check the clips on that. I said it publicly. Yeah, check the clips. I said it early. I believe it. He was the one to watch.
I believe you.
I predicted it, and people said I was out of my mind. But I also said
did you predict that? Right? Did you predict that because you thought he was that good?
I said it on John Katzman.
No. I believe you said it. My question is, did you say that because you were impressed with him, or was it a combination of him and then looking at Adams, Cuomo, and Curtis? Oh my God!
No. It's more important. It's more. Sid, you have a good combination, but let me add to that. Okay, maybe it'll make some sense. I hope it does. With great respect for you. When you have these kinds of elections, you have what they tend to signify is a major demographic and economic shift in the city. Lindsay, 69 and 65, okay? Giuliani would be, 93. You have these kinds of extraordinary events that occur where leadership changes because of ethnic and economic changes in the city. The city is going through a major demographic shift. And the great strength of New York historically, and maybe why so many of us feel so much angst, is that demographic shift, which has resulted in the most productive, what was the great line? That how many people could trace their roots to Brooklyn? This great ethnic balance of people leaving New York, being educated, coming through our schools that used to work, and educating people. That they came through that system and they became the most productive immigrant class and second generation and third generation from those immigrants in the history of the world. Is that going to happen again? And is the great promise of New York still what it was? Could a guy like me, I come from a very, very abusive environment, and I was able to get a union job and bring myself up, and ultimately, thanks to a free university, which doesn't exist anymore, get a college education and do the things I did, having worked in, campaigns in 16 foreign countries in addition of what I've done in the United States. I mean, can that happen again? The answer is likely not. And the mayor's job is to ensure that that can happen. But he is dangerous because he doesn't believe that. He believes in a static situation where the state provides sufficient services to keep a static population in place. Why? Because the DSA is not Democrats, but they are socialists. And the laws throughout the state, as a country, make it impossible for third parties in most cases to get on the ballots. What they've done effectively is they've taken over the carcass of the dead Democratic Party. They're using that, and they're going to elect people around the country, and they're going to change the very nature of the system. That's what he is leading. Anybody who thinks otherwise is just fooling themselves.
No, you're 100% right. And the old Democrats, they're just following along because they're scared to death, whether it's Chuck Schumer. I mean, Schumer was a good guy 20 years ago. He really was. And he's a waste. He's a waste at this point. He's embarrassing himself. And then you get the governor. I mean, she's got to be kidding me. You know, the Long Island Railroad is on strike. She's blaming Trump. She's blaming Blakeman. She's blaming Sid. Wait a second. She found $8 billion for illegals. For illegals, she found $8 billion in the next 2 years to give Mamdani, but she can't figure out a way to get people to work from Long Island? What does she think? She's kidding.
You know, the Kathy Hochul tragedy here is that the MTA belongs to her as the governor. And if somebody did an examination of patronage jobs in that agency versus people who are supposed to get things done and how this could have gone on at this level for this long without gubernatorial intervention to get a contract done is beyond me. But that's for another day. I mean, the real question now is what will happen to the city of New York over the next 3 years. You're going to have a continued outmovement of businesses. Why? Because it tends to happen when you have a fiscal crisis. I represent a lot of, in part of my work, I work for an awful lot of unions, both public and private sector, and I predicted with my union clients a year ago that the budget hole would be about $12 billion. So what you heard the other day was the mayor finally admitting it after saying it was 5.4 or 6. No, it's a $12 billion problem. How is it going to get closed? You can't expand government and close it.
No.
And you can't threaten to cut public employee pension payments. That's just not going to go. So this is a great moment. Can this Democratic Socialist run this city in the way he thinks it ought to be run, which creates a national movement and uses the resources available here to make that happen? Or will we have a disaster of sorts? That is the great moment. And can he prevent that? Not sure.
Prevent
where we are.
He's moving towards it. He's
Exactly.
It's going to be the latter. So in the final 60 seconds, whether you're Ed Cox or AJ, I don't know who's in charge of the Republican Party in New York, and I've kind of, joked around about running because people want me to run. But, whether Curtis is talking about doing it again, which is beyond ridiculous. He's embarrassed himself, not once but twice, 14%, 7%. You got to stop. John Schell's talking about running. I think eventually Jessica Tisch may jump in, maybe Julie Menon. I don't know. But the point is, if you're going to beat this guy, even if he does run the city into the ground, you got to have a couple of people out there that are worthy and that people are going to trust and like. And the Republican Party in this state, Hank, has not done that. Not at the mayor level. Lee Zeldin ran a very good governor's race, so did Andrew Giuliani, but we lost. When are the powers that be in the Republican Party, Hank, here in New York, going to figure out they got to find some real good people to run these races?
Well, that's part of it. They got to find some real good people. But the other thing they have to do is build a party. They don't have one. The history of the Republican Party in New York is an interesting one. If you look at city candidates who won, they won with the Liberal Party line. There is no more Liberal Party. There is no place for people to say, well, I don't like Republicans, but I'll vote on this line to get them there. You have to create a new third party of some kind, and you've got to create a new Republican Party that is unfortunately, I happen to like the present leadership, but that is more like what Joe Cairo, the Republican county chair, has done in Nassau County, which is to put some fire into it, and Jesse Garcia has done in Suffolk County, which is to put some fire into it and to organize. We don't have that in New York City, and the end result is we have Zoran Mandami, and we're going to have more of it, and we're going to have more people leaving, and we're going to have a class of people. I'm not talking about in the minority community. I'm talking about in the non-minority community who somehow believe that there is a great tragedy placed upon others that they have to correct while destroying the city's economy at the same time. That is a disaster waiting to happen, and it will be unfortunate. And for New York, I said this in the Wall Street Journal, I think, last summer, that our time is over. Question is, can we save enough of it for the next generation? And that is that we face. Because we're talking about people who have never put a callus on their hands, never had a tough day, and have no idea what it really means to struggle. The New York that I grew up in was a place where people strived and struggled. I come from a blue-collar world. That world is being destroyed and evaporated and for purposefulness. And the new blue-collar class is probably the Chinese, and they're the ones that are going to have to come to New York, and they're the ones that are going to have to straighten this out, and other immigrants. And if they don't revolt, the city will turn into who knows what. It'll be diminished in population. It'll be the requirement will be that it be supported by the federal government in order for it to survive.
What a mess. Boy, I got to tell you, Hank, you really are great. I appreciate this morning. I really hope you keep coming back because your perspective is, unfortunately, on the money. So thank you so much for doing this morning. Stay healthy, keep talking, and come back on the show soon. Okay, pal? Thank you so much.
I'm very grateful. Have a wonderful day.
You too. You too. He was great, man. Hank Scheinkoff. That was a great description of where we're heading. Scary. Sad, even. Talked about the New York that he was used to growing up and hard worker. And it was kind of scary, no?
Yeah, well, you know what's so great about Hank is he's been doing this for so long that he knows. I mean, he's covered so many races, did polling for so many candidates over the years that he's really in the know in some ways that others are not.
He is. He was great. Thank you to Hank Scheinkoff. But what a show, huh? Bruce Blakeman, Nicole Parker, John Catsimatidis, Gordon Chang, Hank Scheinkoff. We're not done. Nomi's got the news. And then Imus is back. Well, it's not Don, of course, but his 27-year-old son, Wyatt, making his second appearance after the Preakness Stakes on Saturday. So Nomi's got the news. Then Wyatt Imus.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So I'm busy, man. I got, Friday night I was sitting in Steve Cohen's box, and he was sweet. I got to say, he was very sweet. Met game against the Yanks. It was the only game the Yankees won. The Mets came back, and they won Saturday and came back in dramatic fashion to win Sunday. And it was a great time in the box on Friday night. Bill O'Reilly took us. He was there, and my son Gabriel. And again, Steve was terrific. And Mr. and Mrs. Met came up to say hello. So we put that thing to bed, the whole Mamdani hug. It was a very nice time. And Steve Cohen went out of his way to be nice, and we appreciate that. And then yesterday, I made my way, as I mentioned earlier, to the UBS Arena, the home of Louis' New York Islanders, and watched Jerusalem take on Tel Aviv in the annual Israeli Elite Hockey League game. They have a league in Israel. There's 8 teams. They start in June. So they played this game the last 2 years on Long Island before the season starts back in Israel. A lot of Jewish people showed up and Christians. It was very, very nice. Bruce Blakeman was there. Mazi Phillip, my friend Gabriel Boxer did a great job. And Elodie Weil and Allison Devlin and a whole bunch of very, very cool people were there yesterday.
Who won?
AJ, you know what's funny? Tel Aviv was killing them the whole game, killing them. It was 5-2 early in the third period, and Jerusalem scored 4 unanswered.
Oh, no, because I had Tel Aviv. Shoot.
Yeah, you lost. You lost, I know.
Well, they play that swarming defense.
It's just funny looking at the jerseys. Levy, Schwartz. You just don't see that in the National Hockey League. Goldenbaum. They can play. They can skate. And it was a very exciting game. My buddy Dr. John Patash was there with his beautiful family, all 3 of his children. They're great kids. So it was nice to see Patash. And I actually also saw Rachel Hamra, the lovely wife of Abraham Hamra. He was in Canada, but she was there with about 7 kids. It was very, very nice. It really was. Now, tomorrow night, I've got the annual Taret Kohanim dinner. This is Dove and Shoni Heikind. And Shani and Dove have this organization where they buy land from the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, which the Goyim, of course, call the West Bank. And they sell it back to Israelis because we're so outnumbered there. We want to get Jewish people back living in Judea and Samaria. And they do a great job. It's a wonderful dinner at a very swanky place in Hewlett. That's tomorrow night. And then I've got the MJE experience next Wednesday, the 27th, Manhattan Jewish experience. They're honoring me that night. And a whole bunch of people they're honoring that night. Who else is going to be there? Bruce Pearl, the great college basketball coach out of Auburn. He's being honored. And Morin, my friend from Australia, Erin Morin, she's being honored that night. So that's going to be great. And then all the way to Monday, June the 1st, I'm going to be speaking at the annual New York conference for the Jerusalem Post. They're making a big deal about that, too. So I got a lot going on, Nomi.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to grow payas with all those.
Yeah, a lot of Jewish stuff.
The Tel Aviv goal, fourth, Levi Cohen.
Yeah, that's the way it went. And, like they're playing Hava Nagila during the breaks. And you can't make it up. I've never been to a hockey game where before the national anthem they sang Hatikva. How great is that, Noam?
That's great. And the good thing is each time the guys lost their teeth, there were lots of dentists in the crowd. They were able to put them back in place.
Gabe Boxer told me, I didn't know this, that John Ledecky, he's a great guy, he owns the Islanders. And you would know this, though, I guess you got their games. During the regular season, they've got a whole section of kosher food.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, they must have a very big Jewish clientele. I think Citi Field has that, too, Cohen and the Mets. They don't have Jewish heritage, not yet. They're going to bring it back. Twice I told Cohen, bring it back, Steve. I don't care what you did in 2023. That was before October 7th. Bring it back. Okay. We'll talk. But in the arena, UBS Arena, they do cater to the Jewish people. It must have a lot of Jewish fans there.
Just imagining goals scored. And
that's what they were doing. It was hilarious. I loved it. I thought it was great. 9,000 cute little kids with their yarmulkes on and tzitzis. And
that's funny.
Hey, I'll tell you this. You don't have to worry about getting robbed in the parking lot. I can tell you that much. Say what you want. You weren't going to get robbed in the parking lot or hit over the head with a baseball bat trying to make it to your car. Don't have to worry about that.
In fact, you probably left with stock tips and stuff like that.
Boy, they're not covering the point. Look at this. Look at this. The guy's going to score. It's unbelievable. Oh, my God.
We had a nice press conference before the game. Johnny Daniels was there, and again, Bruce Blakeman spoke, and I spoke, and A.J. Edelman, who was the captain of the bobsled team, Israeli bobsled team in Italy a couple of months ago. It was really great, so congratulations to the Israel Elite Hockey League, and I plan on going to a game when I go to Israel next month, because the season does start, I believe, on June the 1st. We'll take a short break. The Preakness was this weekend, and of course Golden Tempo, who won the Kentucky Derby, my dear friend Vinny Viola's horse, trained by Cherie, did not run. They will run that horse at the Belmont in Saratoga in 2 weeks, but he did not run the Preakness. So the win went to Napoleon Solo. I liked Iron Honor. It came in second, almost won. But the win went to Napoleon Solo, paid about $18. We'll talk to Wyatt Imus. No one knows more about horses
You know where that
than
came
Wyatt.
from, right?
Which one?
Napoleon Solo.
From the movie?
Well, it was a TV show.
Okay, right. But was that it?
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I'm pretty sure that's the only other place I've heard Napoleon Solo.
No kidding.
Yeah, Robert Vaughn.
Robert Vaughn.
That was his character.
Yes.
And David McCallum. They were U.S. spies, I believe, but it was a 1960s secret agent show.
Oh, wow. I know about the show. I had no idea that was
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
And one of them was Napoleon Solo.
There you go. Your girlfriend asked me who was going to win the race on Saturday.
Yeah, she was. Oh, my God.
I gave her Iron Horse. He came in second.
Right. Well, I don't know I forgot who she picked.
Did she pick Napoleon Solo?
She gets the newspapers out.
She gets nuts, I know. Well, you remember years and years ago when Imus used to bring in the guys from the OTB guys.
PBR, those guys, you mean?
Yeah, like the thoroughbred officers, And they gave him a certain amount of money to wager with. And they said if you win, you could take that money and put it towards the ranch. So at the time, we had a guy named Jody McDonald at the station who did a horse show. They called him Mac at the Track.
Oh, I forgot about
in
that.
Philadelphia. Right. Yeah. But he went to me, Imus. I don't know why. I knew nothing about horses. Still don't know much. He went to me. And I said, I don't know why, man, but for some reason I like War Emblem. War Emblem? What, War Emblem? And the damn horse won. I don't know how much Imus collected, a couple of $100,000, whatever it was, to put towards the ranch, but I actually gave him the winner. Jody Mack looks to take credit for that to this day, but I was the one. I gave Imus War Emblem. Mind you, I've not picked a Kentucky Derby winner since. That was about 25 years ago. But the I-Man certainly made off like a bandit that day. So we'll take a break and talk to his kid. 27-year-old Wyatt Imus makes his second visit to Sid and Friends in the morning from somewhere in Texas.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Talking about horses, nobody knows more about them, I don't think, than Wyatt. He was raised on them. And Wyatt Imus now shows horses. He takes them all over the country. I know Bo Dietl has already invested, many others. And, in fact, Bo's horse, I believe, won recently, which is pretty good. So Bo's already collected, I should say, on this investment. And when Wyatt was a little kid, his late father, Don, who we know very well, this was his dream. He thought one day that they can show horses all over the country and all over the world and make money doing it. And Don, of course, passed away before the dream was realized. But it's happening. And it's happening because of the hard work of his little boy, who's now a big boy. Wyatt, welcome back to Sid and Friends in the Morning, brother. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me back.
Tell me about these, before we get the conversation going. My business guy, John Terrett, did this story this morning. I thought he was kidding, but he wasn't. What is going on with these screw worms? You guys nervous about that in Texas?
Well, I'll tell you what it's done more than anything is all these events we have, these roping events and futurities for young horses and rodeos and everything, they require cattle because you have to have something to rope. And the best cattle all these years that we've roped came from Mexico. They were Mexican Corriente cattle native to Mexico. Well, when this screwworm outbreak came about a couple years ago now, they shut the border down to all livestock. So no cattle can cross. So what it's done more than anything is it's driven the price of cattle that are native to the states up astronomically. So people buying cattle and steers for all these big events, they're having to give double the money what they had to give a few years ago.
So
there's a lot of guys down there on the border who they cross cattle as a primary source of income. It's a huge market. A good friend of mine is Martine Wall. He actually, when Trump went down during his first term and did like that YouTube documentary, like the Border Wars, he interviewed. He didn't. He had somebody interview my great friend Martine Wall, and Martine talked about all the issues that were going on with all the illegals crossing, and then the screwworm outbreak and everything else, and how it affected his business and his ranch. And Martine, he was doing so well. He owns an Amish ranch horse, so it's a huge market for a lot of people, and it's affecting the industry here with cattle greatly.
Wow, how about that? See, it's interesting that they wouldn't let the cattle across, but the terrorists are okay.
Yeah, they'll let people across with bombs, but not cattle.
Right. Rapists and murderers and terrorists, you can come, but not the cattle. So it really does make a difference down there. So again, I just mentioned the fact that Bo Dietl has already collected on his investment. I put the word out there to a bunch of other folks, including Vinny Viola, who owns a horse, Golden Temple, that won the Kentucky Derby. And I know this thing is kind of just getting started. Been a couple of years, Wyatt, but hasn't really hit the popularity you think it's going to hit. So where are you exactly? What stage are you in this show horse field?
Well, it's building so much, like it hasn't hit the popularity yet just because, I think Yellowstone helped it a lot, but they're starting to pay out big money. So like, for example, the horse that won the Preakness, right? He wins $1.2 million. Well, we got a big event coming up here called the Old West Horse Show in Heber City, Utah, and that's going to pay out $1.7 million.
Wow!
To the winner. So you can have a Preakness horse, that runs in the Preakness and wins it, and you win $1.2 million. Or you can get a horse that's a rope horse in the Western performance horse industry, and you can win $1.7 million. And it won't, it won't cost you probably nearly as much to get into it. I don't know if you saw or not, but a few weeks ago, or I guess it's been a little over a month ago now, one of Bob Baffert, the great Bob Baffert, one of the legendary thoroughbred horse trainers, one of his guys gave $10.5 million for a 2-year-old at the big sale down there, the thoroughbred horse. So, that horse could win the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, win the Triple Crown, and he wouldn't win enough to cover what he cost. So
that's right.
I think the economics of what we're doing is really cool. And again, the Western way of life to some people is great. You saw how Yellowstone took off. So there's a lot of upsides, and I think the trajectory is just on its way up.
Still, because, Yellowstone, look, I got into it a couple of years ago. My wife, Danielle, my beautiful wife, and I, we watched, we loved it, because I like the daughter a lot. I like her. She's funny. And she's tough. She'll kick anybody's ass. But like I told you last time you were on, my interest pretty much went away when Kevin Costner was off the show. I know it's still on, I guess, and it still has decent viewership, but it can't be the same since Kevin left. So is it still that whole Western culture, that whole cowboy thing? Is it still popular, or did it lose some of it with the last couple of years?
I think the Yellowstone show lost viewership, obviously, and then they ended it, of course, last year. But the people that got in as a result of Yellowstone, they got into the horses and the Western culture and all that stuff, and then they realized there was something here. So, just because Kevin Costner wasn't on anymore, he might have been what got him in that show. But once they got here and realized all the opportunities and the way of life and how cool it can be to be a part of it, I mean, there's people who stayed. I mean, look at Bo. Bo's in now. His horse is doing great. I have another guy that came from thoroughbred horse racing. He has a horse. He's doing great. Just people from all walks of life coming in and loving it and enjoying it and watching it take off. So, I mean, Taylor Sheridan in Yellowstone helped tremendously because he was able to have a really far reach and bring people in. But I mean, once people are in, it's fun and they stay in and really enjoy it.
They love it. So I'm interested, you as a little boy had both, right? I mean, your dad had the cowboy hat, had the gun, which he did pull on me more than once. He had the whole thing going on. But you also spent time in New York City, right? You had a house in Westport, Connecticut. You had the apartment in Central Park. So he was kind of both, right? He was kind of like a cowboy in New York City. And I know you've taken on this life and you love it. And your mom, Deirdre, I speak to every now and then. She's so proud of you. But is there a part of you, Wyatt, that wants to be New York City? Or are you 1,000% contempt with the cowboy lifestyle?
Well, I think that's what makes my situation so unique is I was born in New York Hospital. So, I mean, part of me, I was raised there my whole life. Obviously, my dad was on this very station we're talking on right now for years. And, so, I mean, I am a huge part of me is New York. And, I mean, I don't feel like if I didn't have any New York left in me, I'd be able to, have a good conversation with you a couple of weeks ago or now. So I always want to keep those roots and be connected to those people. And, it was such a wonderful childhood. And obviously, my dad did it for years and, gave you the roadmap for what you're doing.
No, he did. Listen, I give your father a whole bunch of credit, despite what Rob Baldwin and others tell your mother, okay? or the rest of these guys. I'm always saying the person that had the most influence on me, and it's not even close. Look, I was around Mike and the Mad Dog, and I even worked with Howard Stern a little bit, and other great people. Not even close. Your father, far and away, had the biggest influence on me, and I'm happy to say that. But I always say this about your dad. So you're a New York guy. But the one thing about your father was, for some reason, he never liked the New York teams. Never. He wasn't really a Jet fan. He wasn't really a Giant fan. He wasn't really a Met or a Yankee fan. He did boast about partying with the Islanders once with the Stanley Cup. But he was funny because whoever won that day, that was who your father liked. Like, he liked the Patriots when they were winning Super Bowls. He liked the Lakers when they were winning championships. Right? Right?
Well, yeah, look, he liked a winner, right? Everybody likes a winner.
Right.
Like Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights says, you got to win to get love.
That's right.
So here's the deal. Yes, we were New England Patriots fans, and they happened to have won 6 Super Bowls in the time we were fans.
Right.
But he was a fan when they had Drew Bledsoe limping out there going 5-11.
Good job.
And then I was a fan when we were losing every game with Mac Jones.
Yeah. Really?
So, oh yeah.
You stuck with him?
I love the Patriots. I think our coach needs to calm down and quit booking cruises with women who are 7 months pregnant.
Hold on a second. Wyatt, let me remind you that the coach that won you your 6 Super Bowls, he's banging a 23-year-old, Wyatt.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't defend that very much. But, hey, he's a winner, and she likes winners. Right. She looks past the age.
Yeah, no question. It's funny because Mike Vrabel is getting such hell in Boston, but Belichick, because he won 6 Super Bowls with this girlfriend who's not only young, but not very bright. He can do whatever he wants. Coaches in North Carolina, it's all good. So you still follow all those sports teams, even though you spend a lot of your days and nights with the horses on the stable, all that? You're still a pretty rabid sports fan?
I am. I enjoy the Patriots. I follow them every year. Obviously, watch the Super Bowl. I still follow the New York teams. They have so many connections. The Jets are really hard to follow. I don't think they haven't won anything since Namath, and
right.
I think Namath was older than my dad, which I didn't even know if that was possible. My dad used to say he's so old he watched Moses part the sea.
I remember he used to say that. Yes,
but
yeah.
I like the Giants. I like that they got Harbaugh now, and I'm a big fan of Jackson Dart. I like his.
He's
style.
cool. Yeah, he's
cool.
cool.
Kid.
Yeah, he's doing some cowboy stuff too. Just so you know, he's got that Mississippi look going for him. What do you? I think I've asked you this last time, but I'm not sure. If I did, it's worth asking again. What do you miss most about your father?
Well, he was my best friend, and whether your best friend's your father, your brother, or just somebody you met in life, losing them is incredibly challenging, and I just miss having that person to talk to no matter what. But I'll tell you something about him that really not a lot of people know. I saw the other night you went to the Mets game with Mr. Cohen and Bill O'Reilly.
That's right.
So I don't know if you remember. Well, O'Reilly has his show now, right? Doesn't he call one of his shows We'll Do It Live?
That is his brand new podcast, which I guessed it on 2 weeks ago, yes.
Well, I'm glad he can kind of make fun of himself a little bit. But I'll tell you what's great. So years ago, you have to have seen, when he was on doing the Inside Edition, he had that famous off-air meltdown where, he's screaming, F it, we'll do it live, and, he's throwing papers around. It was fantastic.
By the way, that's a good job out of you, because most people think he did that on The Factor on Fox News. They're wrong. You're right. Inside Edition. Very good.
Inside Edition in the 90s. Then it came out much later in like 08 or 09, which around 07, 08. Dad had a little time at home. He wasn't working for a little bit, but anyway. So we used to watch the O'Reilly Factor at 8 o'clock on Fox, and then it would roll into Hannity, and we'd watch Hannity, and I still talk to Hannity to this day. I like Mr. Hannity.
Me too. Good guy.
Well, part of our it became a ritual in the Imus household. Around 7:45, we would go on YouTube and we'd watch O'Reilly's meltdown. And we'd be screaming, laughing, and then right about time we got done watching it, we'd roll in and watch the O'Reilly Factor.
Oh, that's funny. That was a nightly tradition for you guys?
About once a week. Every night it gets to be a little much, but we'd do it about once a week, normally on Fridays.
Sure.
Me and my dad go in there in the little living room, and we'd watch O'Reilly freak out, and then we'd watch the O'Reilly Factor.
Yeah, I mean, you do realize that for anybody who thought that your household must have been crazy, that you just exponentially move that up the list. I mean, sounds like a crazy house.
And the best part about it is when Family Guy, the animated show for adults, they did a recreation of it with Stewie, and they had Stewie play O'Reilly. So we got to the point in the Imus household where we'd switch back and forth. 1 week we'd watch the real thing, and then 1 week we'd watch the Family Guy version right before we'd watch the Factor.
I got to play this for Bill. He's on every Thursday. He's going to love this. It's actually funny. That's cute. And you guys had a good time with that. That's good. Bill's going to appreciate that. Trust me. Stewie and the actual audio from Inside Edition and the Imus household before Bill, 8 o'clock weeknights on Fox News. So before I let you run here, Wyatt, I do want you to give out all the information to folks out there who like Bo Dietl, may be interested in investing in what seems to be a pretty good deal here. You don't have to invest a lot of money, but you can win a lot of money and have a real good time at it, too. So what do they got to do to make it happen?
You can have a great time. You can win a lot. Uncle Bo, as we affectionately call him, is having a great time. You can reach out to me. I know I gave it wasn't my personal number, but I gave a number out a few weeks ago. It's 832-992-4687, which, by the way, 4687 spells Imus. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think it spelled Stern.
No, it absolutely doesn't. And then you can go to Instagram, Facebook, go to Imus Ranch, at Imus Ranch, to inquire or check it out or see what's going on. But yeah, Bo's having a great time. He's doing really great. We need to maybe get O'Reilly into one. We'll call it We'll Do It Live.
I love that. We'll do it live. The Do It Live horse. Are you getting married this weekend?
I'm getting married in October.
Oh, October. Why did I think it was coming up before that? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, you're engaged, and Jordan, right?
Jordan Meek, my lovely fiance. Yeah, we're getting married October 16th.
All right. Lewis and I will be there, so. Lewis loves to sing at weddings. He does a really good Otis Day in the Nights, just so you know.
Well, you'd be looking for that invitation in the mail.
Wyatt, every now and then you talk to me and I feel like I'm talking to your father, which is not a bad thing. We'll do this again very, very soon. You're terrific. Folks, get involved with Wyatt. He's having a great time. He's making people money, including Bo Dietl. And go help out the Imus Ranch. Wyatt Imus, excellent job, buddy. We'll catch up again very soon.